Okay. Hello, folks. It's Tuesday night at the Mechanics Institute Chess Club, and we're going to be here for till about 10:30, 11 o'clock Pacific time. It's round 6 of the Tuesday night marathon, and I'm your host, FIDE Master Paul Whitehead, and in the chess office here at 57 Post Street, downtown San Francisco. We're in the room around me. In the other room, there's 80 players playing serious chess. Friends of mine, some of them, a lot of them. People whose losses and wins they take seriously, and I take to heart too, and they show me their games. And so we're going to look at some of those games, top 10 boards. And sitting down with me here is Abel Telementes, rescuing me from my awkward introduction.
Not at all.
And we're looking at a slideshow here also of players past and present in the club. And that's it. Hi, great to see you again, Ward G. And people are chatting with us and joining us. We're competing with Daniel Naroditsky and the Chess Bras.
They're both on right now?
They're both on right now. But I've got something to say about that. I mean, if you want to see some fast chess being played, but for a while, go there. But come back here, and we're taking it a little slower here with a game in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Time control. We're having some lazy commentary.
Well, it's like you're hanging out with the family, right? You're hanging out with the club.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone here comes back on a weekly basis, so. You want to see some, fast, bullet action and some craziness. That's always fun to watch, especially Daniel.
Yeah.
The chess bras are the chess bras, but
right.
If you want to see some club chess, watch the regulars, watch us go over games, authentic chess.
Absolutely authentic, as raw as it gets.
for all the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Authentic chess.
Yeah. I was saying that, and also I was saying that a lot of these people out there are my friends, and I share in their triumphs and their losses, and they're taking it easy out there too. They've got 2 hours to play their game, and so they're taking it seriously. This is a big deal.
Which is great.
Round 6.
They're passionate about what they do.
Yeah. And. So we'll join in with that in a minute. Do you have anything to say about upcoming things here at the club?
Yeah, one of the things I'm really excited about, I'm happy about, I'm going to give this quick shout out right now because I have this opportunity. So I am a Cal alum, very proud of it. They, for the first time in 9 years, defeated Stanford in the big game. So the Stanford Axe is going to Berkeley. So if anybody wants to chat about that and say anything about it, let me know.
You'll have to talk to Abel about that because
Paul's not a sports aficionado.
I'm not a sports aficionado.
But Daniel Naroditsky, who we're competing with, is a Stanford alum. He lost the big game.
So
So it's the football rivalry between Cal and Stanford. They've been doing it, I think, 122 years.
Okay.
And
this is the first win in how many years?
9 years.
Wow.
And
technically 10. How sweet it is.
Yeah. And they play for this axe, right? That's called the Stanford. It's like the trophy, right? So it's one of the longest rivalries in college football.
Right. Okay.
I think the only one older is the Harvard Yale game, but we took it. I mean, I was almost I was really sick, but that brought me back to life. I watched that game. It was fantastic. So. It doesn't have anything to do with chess.
It has something to do with it.
Yeah, it's always going to have something to do because
right.
There's a lot of Cal and Stanford people just out in the room playing.
We're in the Bay Area, and chess weaves its way into our lives in all kinds of strange ways. There's Joyce Carol Oates in the chess in the chess room. Chess is approached from just about any way that a human being can think of to approach it.
Yeah.
Literature, music, art, sport, you name it.
Yeah.
So.
You were asking earlier, kind of what's happening. So, one of the cool things that's happening here at Mechanics is this week we're running a chess camp for the kids in the area.
Speaking of which,
we're looking at one who is currently in St. Louis.
FIDE master Josiah Stearman,
Yeah.
who wins tournaments here at the club right and left.
So, yeah, he's trying to get a IM norm in St. Louis.
Right. I don't think he got it.
Right.
No.
Yeah. And then I think, I don't know what the result was, but I think Christopher Yu is also in St. Louis.
He was.
And I think if he won today, I think he might have gotten a norm. So
Wow. I'll have to look that up.
I don't know the result of that.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
Local players playing here in the club.
And that's me just looking at what the score was and what I think he would need for the norm. So I don't know what the result was today, but yeah, local young players, trying to get their chops.
Right.
So chess camp, which was a lot of fun, a lot of action, and then we also had the Guthrie McLean Memorial coming up.
Right. Okay. We're just hearing that he needed 6.5 and finished with 5.5.
That's tough. I thought 6 would have done it.
For Grandmaster, was he playing in the Grandmaster tournament?
Yeah, he was playing the GM norm. I thought 6 would have done it because I knew he had 5.
High F pawn.
So thanks, Michael, for that info. That's too bad because I thought if he won, 6 would have done it, but I guess it was 6.5. So and it looks like he drew today. That's why I got 5.5. So. Still fighting for that last norm, but he'll get it. His time will definitely come.
By the way, that's what we're chatting about.
Chat has no chat.
Yeah.
So anyway, as we sit here just chatting.
Yeah, we're chatting about it.
Time zone. Oh, perfect. And actually, I saw that F Pawn's going to be playing this weekend. He's playing in
where?
In the Santa Clara area.
Michael F Pawn.
So he's throwing back down. So and I think he's been in Europe for a while too.
Right.
So yeah, welcome back, and hope to see him back before the next Blitz Memorial. Check out our tournaments. Come play. Yeah, we're trying to get FM Paul to
what?
Play in one of the tournaments.
FM Paul is enjoying just commenting on
FM Paul's GM commentator.
I'm enjoying commenting on the games and making fun of people and writing about my past chess history in the chess newsletter.
And actually, the funny thing
I'm reminiscing. And
in your reminiscing, you wrote about Paul Cornelius, and then it got back to him. And then he reached out to you, which was I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, after almost 40 years or 40, chess for me has lasted a long time. My friendships around chess have lasted, and I know for other people too. They can be a lifetime of
I remember when I was
connection.
A young player. I started playing when I was I think 12. I think when I was 15, I was 2000. And then I stopped playing when I was in high school. And then I didn't play for 25 years.
Yeah.
And then when I kind of got back, when I started my own chess business, there was people that I was playing with that I knew they were still playing, and then they remembered me. And it was like, people that play chess, they're serious about it, and it's almost like they never leave the game.
Yeah.
I mean, you say the same thing to me. Like I thought I left.
Are there people that have you reconnected with people that you knew from back then?
Yeah, and actually we had
for sure
a few players that I played at Lyra and Colty and all this, and then they ended up playing here, and it's like, hey, what have you been doing the last 30 some years? So it's pretty fascinating. In the chess culture, people, they stay with it or they stay connected with it in some way, and it just never seems to just completely go away, which is really unique to a lot of other things that I've been a part of.
I think right here in the Bay Area, and particularly at the Mechanics Institute, you're connected to a very rich and heritage of people of all strengths and personalities, and world champions have been through this club, and Just
hold this real
yeah, amazing stuff going on in here historically, and so if you're going to maintain a lifelong chess connection, this is an incredible place to be involved with. I feel very lucky to be involved in this place for so long. I stepped into this club when I was 12, and I'm 59 now, so that's a long time to be involved in a certain place. There's one of our old trustees, Guthrie McLean, who wrote a book on Bobby Fischer. He's there up on the screen. We're going to go to our games pretty soon. We'll start looking at the games round 6. I'm letting them germinate, and then I'll get to them. And John Donaldson, chess room director for almost 20 years, just recently retired, replaced by Abel Telamentis. There's George Koltanowski giving a blindfold simul in the club with a trustee, Charles Bagby, making the moves for him. There's William Lombardi and myself a couple of years back here in the club. Lombardi died in San Francisco, and we were lucky to hang out with him. Bill Addison, who was the director of the club and the strongest player ever to come out of San Francisco. I'm not sure who this young woman is. I heard she's I think she's maybe a Romanian and high up in state. There's Petrosian giving a simul at the club here. And back in the 1970s, I think after one of the Lone Pine tournaments, Walter Brown and Jesse Cry. Yeah, so come and you can visit our website at chessclub.org and find out more. You can come down to the club. We're at 57 Post, as it says right there, downtown San Francisco. There's incredible things happening here, and as you can see, with chess. If you love chess or you want to get involved with chess. I'm going to turn now down to the games of the Tuesday night marathon round 6. And this tournament is 9 rounds. The time control is game in 2 hours with a 5-second delay, which means it's nice and relaxed. The players can really sink into their game, and old school time control. There's about 80 players out there right now, maybe a little bit more, and we are covering the top 8 boards of the open section and the top board in the AB section, which is board 9 that you're looking at here, and board 10 is the top board in the under 1600 section. And you know, as I've said, I think I said once or twice before, we're giving everybody their 5 seconds of fame, and or 5 minutes of fame. So that's part of what's going on here. The club, the orientation towards the club player, which we're finding to be quite enjoyable.
I think there was some mention about my age. Believe me, I'm much older, and I feel much older.
What are you, about 70? No, I'm really talking about myself.
Late 40s.
No,
late 40s.
Late 40s. Well, you look younger than you are.
Yeah, feeling is a totally different thing.
Right, I understand that.
So
for sure.
yeah, so you can get started on the games and.
One quick question. I'm kind of interested in this too. Somebody's asking us, ACO is asking us, do you think you might change the time control from delay to increment?
We cannot, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Because...
FIDE? Something with FIDE?
No, not at all, actually. The issue is with the curfew that we have here at the Institute. So
say no more.
Yeah, so the Institute, we have to have games done by about 10:30, and we can push it to 10:45.
Right.
But the cleaning crew needs to get in. Now,
Vacuum cleaners,
if we did
mops.
If we did G90, and here's the thing. So it's not really because of tradition. It's because we're the Mechanics Institute, the institute as a whole. So whatever, if something needs to be done for the building as a whole, we sort of have to abide by that.
Sure.
Right? Sure. And the cleaning is part of it. So so what we could do for the increment is we could do G90 plus 30, right? What will happen is most of the games will finish way before 10:30, like maybe even 10.
Right.
The thing is that there's potential for games to go well beyond 10:30. They can go till 11 or 11:30 because of the increment.
Because of the increment. What about by FIDE? That either way would be fine.
We could do G90 plus 30.
Gotcha.
Yeah, G90 plus 30. But the thing is, with a G90 plus 30, you could have a game, even though when you see G90, that's like 3 hours,
right.
and then you add
you could have a game
seconds.
Going on till midnight.
It can go 5 hours, and I've been a part of those.
Yeah.
I've been a part of many G90 plus 30.
Yeah.
Many of them, and they can go 5 hours if the game is a long game, where the players are making rapid moves. And they're just adding increment time, right?
Yeah.
Continuously.
Right.
Whereas we do the game in 2 with 5-second delay, it pretty much guarantees that the games end by 10:40,
right.
10:40, guaranteed.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Plus, that's reasonable. I mean,
now this is because of Tuesdays, right? So. We're going to be organizing G90 plus 30 tournaments on the weekends. We have one coming up, the John Donaldson Championship.
Right.
I think December 18, 19, 20. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Those are game 90 plus 30. So
we're doing it.
Yeah, we're doing it. We just can't do it Tuesday nights.
Right. We experiment with different formats to see what works in different situations. This is Tuesday night. We can't do the increment.
Yeah, and it's only because it's Tuesday, but we like G90 plus 30, but that's why.
Gotcha.
FPON was at the Euro Club Cup that went over 200 moves on 30-second increment. Yeah, that's a long game. 200 moves on 30-second increment, right? That's a very long game, right? And that's the thing about the G90 plus 30 is that a lot of the games end in like 3 hours.
Right.
A lot of them do. So you're thinking, why don't we do G90? The games will end. You're going to have that game or a couple games that, okay, while all the other 40 games ended in 3 hours, 2 of the games are going to last 5 hours, and you're going to be there. So that's why.
We can't do that because we have to be out of the building at a certain point.
Yeah. So, but even, that being said, the people, the cleaning crew, they're real gracious and generous with us. So sometimes we have games that push to 10:45.
And they don't turn their vacuum cleaners up to 10.
Right. So thankfully, they do the other areas work around. So it's all good. But we want to keep the goodwill going with everyone, right? And the Monday FIDE event, even though that the pro bono event we had yesterday. It is FIDE rated, even though it was free. It was on us. It was actually pretty fun. And actually, Paul's the one that donated the first prize, the chess set and the clock. The clock was a difficult one to put up because I saw that clock. I wanted to keep it for myself.
If I find another one, I'll get you one.
Let me know.
We don't have any other Jurgers here? Chess clocks?
It was my favorite clock as a kid.
Yeah,
when
I know
was
you
like
said
12,
that,
13.
but I kind of had already made a sort of a commitment.
No, that was fine. It was actually great to give it out, but I always loved the tilt.
And a kind of a unique plastic set that was given
it looked
out
like
as
wood.
well.
Yeah,
Howell and Hare Krishna went 236 moves. You're gonna wish you never went to increment if that happened.
I mean, that was a tournament that we had like a month and a half ago, I think it was, or a month ago, where it was G90 plus 30, and then Jude and I were working it, and then one of the games went like long, and it was one game.
Right.
All the other games were done, and then Jude and I were talking, just like, why did I do the increment? I'm never doing it again. And I'm like, okay, it's just one game.
As a player, I much prefer increment than delay. I find delay to be kind of confusing.
Yeah.
And in the sense that, time sort of stands still and then it counts down, and that to me is odd.
To me, as a tournament director, like I never minded that all the games are done except like one or two, and that they're going late, because then you use that time to catch up on stuff.
We could think about that. There is a blitz tournament held in the Bay Area up near Sacramento where they use analog clocks.
And I think it's in a G13 or something.
That's right. Yeah, and FPON is.
It's John McCumsky.
Yeah.
In Sacramento, fantastic TD.
But
Go Bears.
Yeah, so there's some analog. We could try.
For those that know that,
we could try an analog kind of an idea here, maybe one day. Or
I would love to do that. I mean, shoot, we got like analog clocks.
Do we have a lot of analog?
We got some.
Okay, well, bring your own analog clock, and we'll have a chess tournament.
So,
Mike Grand Forks, is that Mike? Who's Mike Grand Forks? You've been on here before. Yeah. Okay, guys. Yeah, honor of Walter Brown for sure. That could be the Walter Brown Memorial Tournament
that could be cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna get back outside. Okay. I'm gonna let you do your thing.
I'm gonna start.
Bye, everyone.
Making fun of everybody.
Go Bears.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna start up at board one. Russell Wong, Master Russell Wong is playing expert Stephen Gaffigan, and Russell is leading the tournament with 4.5 out of 5. He's on fire. He's one of the old timers here, and we're going to take Rico Adkins says his friend Steve Gaffigan is playing Russell Wong on board one, and it's a Sicilian defense. So we're just going to go straight into the chess here. The top 8 boards of the open section, and the top board in the AB section, and the top under 1600 section. Let's go. Russell Wong versus Stephen Gaffigan is ongoing, and we have a Sicilian defense where white plays B3. And so this can be confusing, and now white plays bishop D3. Okay, so this is, one of those kind of oddball setups against a Sicilian. It's B3 with bishop D2. Wong versus Gaffigan sounds like a pairing from the last century. It is. It's true. These guys probably played each other in the 1900s, for sure. I mean, yeah. Great observation from FPON. But they're both doing really well in this tournament, and so the kids had had everything going for their way last Tuesday night tournament, and now the old timers are getting their revenge. FPON says he played them both. Yeah, played both these guys in the 90s. Yeah, this is old school chess here, but they're doing well, and there are kids in this tournament too. So everything looks pretty normal here. White has more space. Black has the 2 bishops. And E5 is kind of a nice thematic move. These are 2 players who are in form right now. They're not the highest ranked players in the tournament, but they're good enough to beat anybody else in the tournament, and they're both playing well and in form. And this game is what it is, and we'll go down to board 2, where the top one of the top ranked players in the tournament, Eric Lee, who's at 2300. He's playing Gianluca Pane. Both these players, by the way, Gaffigan has 4 out of 5, and Eric Lee and Pane have 3.5. So Wong and Gaffigan are, in a sense, running away from with the tournament at this point. The next players with 3.5 are Pane, Lee, and Michael Walder. And so Eric Lee is rated 2300, and Pane is rated 1887. And let's see how this game is going. So we know who the favorite is in this tournament, in this game here. And we have a Queen's Gambit. Very thematic kind of. Okay, so black is giving up the bishop at b4. I wouldn't, that's kind of a surprising decision here to me. Okay, but on the other hand, the problem is the pawn at b7 is hanging. So did black make a little error here with a5? I'm not sure. Perhaps not. And queen b3 is a good move. I don't know much opening theory, folks. You're not going to, so this is all, it's all looking somewhat, okay, Slav Geller Gambit. Thank you, guys. Probably all book. All looks to, okay. If white can play e4 and dislodge the knight, black's going to lose that pawn at b4. And white is starting to surround it and wins the pawn at c. Something has gone wrong, seriously wrong for black here. My sentence resonates. Well, you mean when I say that I don't know anything or I don't know the opening? Well, black has obviously misplayed this, but he got himself in a bit of a, you know, I mean, even though this may be book, clearly the issue here is being able to defend the pawn at b4. And that, you know, long range, it can be, it looks like it's difficult because after knight d5, the problem is white is going to try to force in pawn to e4. And black needs to do something, and black did nothing to prevent that. And I'm not sure what he should have done, but I'm going to go through these moves and show you how it can really go wrong for black, who's now lost a pawn.
I think we may have
and so already a pawn has been lost, and maybe the pawn on b4 is vulnerable to being lost. So this has already gone very badly for black, and that's my verdict, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, so that's my story. Who's coming in?
board 10.
Oh, already, okay, wow. Board 10 is the top board in the under 1600 section, and we're covering that board as well. So the players are going to come on in and tell us what is what. Okay. And this is, tell us your name, sir. I'm going to find your game here.
Right.
Andy Ford.
Andy Ford, okay. Let's find your game on the DGT boards. And let's see what happens in this game. I'm going to go through the opening with you guys because I want to, this is called the King's Gambit, of course.
Yep.
Right? And please let me know if I'm mistaken. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been stressed the whole week because I've been...
Yeah.
I was reading Andy's games, and I knew that he played King's Gambit. So what I didn't know was both his opponents in the previous round, one just blundered terribly, and the other one played the King's Gambit declined, but I wanted to play the sharpest line. So again, shout out to Bansur for helping me prepare.
Okay, I don't know what happened in this game, so I'm gonna, and I don't want to know yet.
All right.
So I'm gonna just go through the moves and see, and we'll see what happened. Okay, so white plays what's called the Alger Gambit, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Another move there suggested is simply leaving it and developing the bishop to c4 and allowing
And that's
him
another, is that the Rice Gambit?
No,
or
I think
something?
there's knight e5, which is the main line.
Yeah.
Knight e5
Okay.
is...
The main
So
line.
this gambit is not supposed to be, okay, so white could play knight c3 here, or d4. There's various other, bishop c4,
I wish I
d5
went
is a good move.
to, for here, I wish I went to actually e2 and played a reverse Dutch instead.
So this was all
Wait
in
a
my...
minute, whoa.
Here,
A reverse Dutch right here?
Yeah, instead, because after if you continue and he moves
Now wait a minute,
his-
you've sacrificed a piece and now you want to play bishop to e2?
After, yes.
What if he plays h5?
No, well, see, the thing is, it's not it's because after he went here and I captured back,
Right.
I made a big mistake here and allowed him to run away.
Okay. No. This is actually theory.
Yes.
Yep, king g7.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
once the king
that's-
goes to g7, all this is theory.
All of the things.
But usually white would play d4 here,
Yep.
right? I think.
d4.
And that's where I was trying, because I realized as he kept telling me, he prepared for it already.
All right, so d3 is a little slow.
It's slow.
Okay.
That is exactly.
Well,
I
let's
already
see.
understood the whole time it was
All
slow.
right, bishop d6. But okay, so let's just.
So that's
tell-
book 2.
Is this all book?
D4 and then bishop d6. The point is either d3 or d4. Basically, he's trying to capture an f4. So
But okay, so if he plays d4 and you play bishop d6, can he play e5?
E5,
But then
oh.
maybe you go bishop b4 check, and if c3, queen takes d5. Okay, so we're looking at white playing d4, bishop d6, e5, bishop b4 check,
c3.
queen takes d5.
Oh, queen takes d5.
And then if c takes b4, queen g2, black is causing complete havoc
Yep.
in the white camp. But d3, so I'm not sure what the right move on maybe I'm not sure. But this whole thing is not supposed to be good for white anyway.
No.
Okay, just to let you know. But I'm curious as to what happened. Now, why does black miss a win here by just playing queen takes h4 right
yes.
now?
So queen takes h4 is like
Is a win?
pretty much.
Maybe.
So queen takes
Maybe
h.
not.
Queen takes h4 is obviously like
Okay.
the first move I saw, but
Right.
okay, queen takes h4, bishop f4 is a small chance for black, for white.
G3.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I didn't want to.
Then bishop e5 check.
Yeah, I didn't want to allow the bishop into the game at all.
Bishop takes e5, rook f7 check, king g6, and then
Yeah, why allow the dark square bishop with when I can play f3 and just finish it cleanly, right?
But does it finish it cleanly? Because look what happens. This is rook f3 is a good move.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, we're going to try to be a little quieter
All right.
because okay, we're actually close to the games outside. Queen takes f3. Queen h4.
At this point in the king's gambit, once he wants to exchange queens, I already know that I have to play as if I was black here, so to speak.
Yep.
Yeah, you're
So what was wrong with this?
nothing.
Nothing.
No.
At this point now, I'm waiting for him to blunder in order to simply equalize for the rest of the game.
You're a rook and a piece ahead.
Yeah. So that's.
Yeah. So
The
it's-
entire time from people.
I was mistaken. I thought that you were just the exchange down earlier, but this is completely lost.
Yeah. After this, here he could win a piece back. Not here. Just after just after. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. No, afterwards. I'm sorry. This is all fine.
Bishop e3.
No, I mean like later in the game he could have won a piece back.
Oh, show me.
Yeah.
Take,
So
take.
take d4. I actually thought for 20 minutes next move, and after bishop b3, here I thought for 20 minutes before I decided okay I can give a piece back for these 3 central pawns. So I played
Sure.
knight e5. Here f4, right?
Right.
F4 just gives the f4 knight d3 e5 and then
you
knight
just
e5.
knight 5.
Yeah,
Right.
f5 bishop e5. So I wanted to give a piece back for the 3 pawns because I didn't want that pressure. Like so.
But yeah, it's just crushing. So this is, yeah.
Immediately
Well,
from this,
yeah.
once he came prepared, I already understood that I was
Yeah.
going to be fighting for a draw or.
Well, that gambit's not sound. I don't think.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
I just
it's
saw
not
the
been
Michael
considered
Tell
sound for.
in the other room,
Right,
and I
yeah.
just was.
But he never played the King's Gambit.
No, I'm pretty sure he has a couple games. with the
Really?
King's
I think
Gambit.
it's-
yes,
yeah.
I believe so.
Well, I think
Spassky is the player that
Spassky,
played the
yeah.
King's Gambit. He beat Fischer with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
so. Effectively.
But your preparation was good.
I mean, it's basically because every round I've been able to predict the opening because of this, and I kind of knew for some reason I could say that Andy was a knight g5 and not a knight a5 player. So I actually saw this line knight g5 in the last minute, and once I saw that okay, the king runs to g7,
You're
and
going to have to go a little deeper with your openings.
I will have to,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because there's ways of playing the King's Gambit that are not so risky.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can play knight e5 in that position and not have to give up a piece.
it's very stressful to prepare against it because whole week I've been losing my hair. Like there are these wild variations where you have to as black, even though you're up all
Right.
this material,
Right.
if you make a single step, misstep, and it's all like +3, +4 on the computer.
I never worried about the King's Gambit because I never played E5 when somebody played E4. I played the Sicilian.
Well, I was actually, today I was expecting him, because he saw me play the King's Gambit so much, I thought he was going to respond with a C5. And
Yeah, initially that was my thought,
Yeah,
but
and
then I had
Right.
this thing like, okay, let me if not in a classical game, when are you ever going to take on the King's Gambit, right? Like,
If you were going to go Sicilian, I was just going to go Grand Prix.
And here you
I
have it,
predicted
so folks back home.
style.
This is folks discussing their games. So what's your score now in the
5.5 on 6.
5.5 out of 6?
But I have to say, I'm very, very, very nervous about playing Mateo because he's.
Yeah, he's good. He's been playing here in the.
I've seen his games. It's brilliant. Like he's a very good, very
well,
scary player.
You're good too. So. Yeah.
Mateo is like the one I'm. I hope Valerie can take care of.
Good
Mateo
luck, you guys, in your next
you very
games.
much.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for a good game, and you took his pieces, and that's all you needed to do. Yeah, sometimes don't give away your pieces anymore.
Right? I understand.
Okay. Did I mention Fisher Spassky? Okay. So that was board 10, the top board in the under 1600 section. Let's go to board 3, Sodakova, Natalia Sodakova versus Michael Walzer, 2 national masters, 2 strong players that have battled it out zillions of times here at the club. Michael said he didn't have a good score against Natalia. But Michael's been playing very well lately, so let's see what happens here. This is a accelerated dragon, and actually a hyper-accelerated dragon. And white takes on d4 with the queen, and black plays knight f6. And I've experimented with playing bishop b5 bishop b5 here. And if knight c6 take, and then e5. But knight c3 is an interesting move. And black maybe should think about his, well, let's see, knight c6, queen a4, and d6, e5 takes knight e5. I guess bishop d7 is playable for black, but doesn't want to give up the 2 bishops. So plays here, and on e5 can't play knight h5 because of what? g4. So played this last night against Anand. Okay, gosh, I'm way behind the times. Knight g8. Okay, and bishop f4. So these players are. F6 is natural. Now, white's game looks really nice here, folks. If I was to choose which side, the classical side of me would say, look at all the white pieces developed, and black has 1 piece out, and now is moving a pawn as well. And I would think that this would just be, close to disastrous. And a good tactical player would love to have white here. But it's possible that black is just sound enough structurally to survive all this, or to get a playable game. And white seems to find no other reply than taking on f6, although I can imagine there might be some other moves and other ideas here. Maybe bishop c4, possibly, and giving up e5, I'm not sure. Maybe not. Okay, so takes on f6, knight f6, and again, very aggressive play by white. d6, and white's just throwing out the pieces here. Every single white piece is in play. Very impressive. Castles, check, and knight g5, e5. Knight f7 check, of course, because if bishop g3, black will probably play queen e7. This is very uncompromising chess here. And that's a Schweißenzug, an in-between move. If black plays pawn takes bishop, rook takes at f4, then rook takes d6. And the bishop is pinned to the queen. Looks bad. So bishop e8 first, attacking the queen, forcing it to move, then take the bishop. White still gets to take on d6, but black is able to escape grievous harm, immediate harm. So white has a rook for 2 pieces and a rook and a pawn for 2 pieces. And it's unbalanced, which is probably what white was hoping for here. And after a lot of forcing play, still needs to convince me that this forcing play has really been worth it. This is kind of the first retreating move almost by white. And if black can sort of pull himself together here with the 2 pieces versus a rook, the game is very sharp and unclear, so and unbalanced. So that's very fitting for these strong players. All right, board 4, Clemens versus Estolas. And these are 2, let me see their ranking for you folks back home. Estolas, I think, is an A player or a B or an expert, and Clemens is an A player, one of our stalwart club players. And we have a Queen's Gambit, Slav, again. I've told the players that they shouldn't bore me with this Slav stuff, but they don't listen to me. And both players are developing their pieces in fairly normal fashion. Black has the hanging pawn center. White's trying to trade off in order to be able to target, but black is getting some counterplay along the B file now. And this is probably turning out well for black. It's possible that the queen b5 move was premature. In this situation, maybe b3 first, and with the idea of queen b5. Queen b5 may have given black just a little too much play here. All right, on to board 5, where expert Larry Snyder with 3 points out of 5 is playing A player Christian Jensen, also with 3 points out of 5. And this was a Alpen Sicilian with d6, d4, knight f6 takes, knight c6, a gambit, and white plays for it, and black is getting a huge lead in development. This is, I don't think to be recommended for white at all. For 1 pawn, black is getting a strong initiative. So black had a chance to play queen takes queen check, king takes queen, knight takes pawn check, king e1, knight takes rook, but then pawn takes bishop check, and material advantage for white if he can pick up the knight at h1, and that's another question entirely. It's also possible for black to play queen takes queen check, king takes queen, and then just bishop takes e7 with a significant lead in development, although being a pawn down would be a little worrisome. White could just play bishop e3. Okay, cancel that, and let's look at what black played. Queen e7, bishop e2, bishop g4. Does that work? I'm not sure. Certainly white can't play bishop g4 because of knight takes c3 check, winning the queen. So he blocks the e file. So bishop g4, well, we'll see, rook d8, queen c1, and white is hanging on. Bishop e2. That's not something that black, I think, wanted to do. And I would say that white is up a safe pawn in this position. And now is starting to sort of take over here, and that will at least successfully trade some pieces while remaining a pawn up. So black seems to have kind of not played with enough energy, and I would say that he, right around here, queen takes queen check, king takes queen, knight takes pawn check, king moves, knight takes rook, e takes f8 check, rook takes f8, and then see if it's possible, see how difficult it was going to be for white to win the knight on h1. If he can't, then white is going to be significantly worse, is going to be losing, in fact. So that's possible, and that was a solution. Let's see this, or a way out. This is expert Ethan Boldy versus A player, and youngster Ethan Boldy versus Sosakobian, one of our regular players in the tournaments. Both of these players are. And we have a Benoni where black is delaying taking on e5 on d5, and white decides to take on e6. So instead of playing something like e4 here, or knight d2, or rook e1, or bishop, or some other move, useful move, maybe rook a3 or h3. There were lots of moves here to play, and d takes e6 is an interesting possibility. Bishop e6, b3, and that sacrifices the, well, no, it doesn't. I'm thinking knight e4, but then knight takes e4, bishop takes a1, bishop g5 is probably strong. Knight d6 would also be strong. So I don't think it's wise for black to play knight e4. But d5 looks like a good move. And now knight d2. So now, no matter what happens here, white has misplayed this. Knight c6 is a perfectly fine move here. Black doesn't need to overreact. And white has nothing here. And I would say that d takes e6, bishop e6. Now white needs to play something like knight d5 if he's going to justify taking on e6. Because this, yeah, d takes e6 does not look good. And okay, so knight e4 is a committal move by black. White can sacrifice the exchange here, and he does, or doesn't need to, actually. Knight c4. Did black really want to do this? I don't think so. But also, this, let's see, if white could play bishop b2 here, well, as long as black can play f5 and defend the e4 pawn, I think that's probably good. So I'm going to change my mind and say black's doing okay. Bishop f5 now. Why not just pawn f5? Okay, bishop e3, which is kind of a nice move. Queen a5. I mean, and this is an interesting trade. Unexpected trade. Maybe black could also think about playing knight c6. I mean, the white knight is going to end up on d5 very quickly. And so, although knight c6, knight d5, knight b4 is possible, I guess also the pawn is hanging at e4, and black decides to do this, trading everything, and then, and white has to be maybe a little better here with the two bishops, but, and control of the d file. The threat is sort of to play a5 here, as well for white, maybe, and break up the pawn structure on the queen side. Okay. All right, so it's still up in the air. Let's go to board 7, Clarence Lehman, Kalen Melville versus Clarence Lehman. These are two A players and Tuesday night marathon regulars, and they're battling it out. And we've got an Albin counter gambit, which I know almost nothing about. I like the move f6 as a positive approach to just say I'm sacrificing that pawn, and that shows it that I'm just sacrificing. Whether it's sound or not, I don't know, but black is playing a positive game to develop pieces and not wasting any time here. Castling queenside, b5. I guess the knight has nowhere else to go. I mean, white is a pawn up, folks. Queen a4, b6, g3, d3. I like that move. Pawn takes. Queen f6 attacks the knight and the rook and wins the game on the spot. No, it doesn't. Okay, folks, I'm tactically asleep at the ship. Queen d1 defends both. Black has a good game here. Knight c4, queen c3 check. First, okay, knight d2. Actually, knight c4 is it possible here? This threatens rook e8. White is in trouble. It's amazing. Although knight f5 might not have been the right move. Going back here, we can see that maybe black could have played knight takes c4. And if d takes c4, rook takes d2. And if rook c1, then queen d2 check and exchanging into a favorable endgame for black. Yeah, knight c4 looks strong here. There's another move, knight b3. That doesn't quite work because of rook a2. But black should have a winning move here, or close to it. White's uncastled king, and also it was possible to just play knight c4 in this position. White's gotten himself into a world of trouble here, but can he castle and get out of it? So knight c4 is the move, although I don't like the fact that the bishop g4 can be played maybe, I don't know. Knight c4 is the move, clearly. Still. It might be winning in this position, or close to it. Let's see, knight c4, d4, rook d2. Yeah. Very strong, I think. All right. This is Elliot Winslow, International Master Elliot Winslow on board 8. He has been getting beaten up a little bit in this tournament, but is always dangerous. Let's see, he's white versus Stephen Thiem, who is an expert chess player by rating. And we've got a French defense with bishop b5. Every time I see bishop b5, I think it's a Sicilian. And it's a French defense with black taking on, I'm not sure the exact name of this, where black plays knight f6 and then takes back with the pawn. And structurally, this is dubious for black. And that's a positive move, especially with the g file open. Queen g5, c4, queen h5, d5, okay. Thematic. Black looks like he's probably in some trouble here, despite the exchange of queens. So white has the two bishops. All right, I've been a little superficial in my analysis here. Let's see, d5. Let's go back through this. d5 takes. And the issue here is that after knight d4, the queens come off. So is there a way for white to get a bigger advantage here? Maybe bishop e4 in this situation, or some other move other than exchanging queens. Even bishop f4 looks possible. Now that the black king is in the center, just a developing move. And bishop f4 allows bishop g3, covering the g file in case white's worried about that. So I'm not sure that this knight d4 move, which leads to this liquidation here, white's got the two bishops, but black is very solid. And now h4, which is white's natural move, I'm not sure why Elliott's not playing that. Well, white has a weak pawn at d5, but white must be thinking long and hard about playing h4 here. That's the obvious move, to fix the black pawn at h5 and to prevent black from playing h4 himself, which gets rid of one weak pawn for black. This is how I'm thinking. And we're going to go to board 9, where Jonah Bush, who is a perfect 5-0 in the A-B section, is playing Ashik Uzaman, who is a strong A player and has been an expert chess player, rated expert. And we've got another Alapin Sicilian. This time black plays g6. I'm doing fine here. d5, takes on d5. Let's go back through this a little bit. Okay, so d4 takes, and d5 is a positive move. Takes on d5, also possible was, of course, to play e5. But white's playing a different structure here. Almost a Grunfeld structure. Bishop b5 check, bishop d7, bishop f4, aggressive play by white. A lot of times these kind of forcing moves don't really lead to much. In fact, white's missing the light squared bishop, I would say, in this position, although white has some pressure here. And this, a little awkward for black, who, if he plays knight d5, the pawn at b7 is hanging. But I think black should be able to find a way to effectively deal with that. So not much going on here. And we're going to go back up to board 1, where Russell Wong is playing Stephen Gaffigan. This is, we left it off here. Chances are about even. Black maybe a little standing well in this kind of Sicilian defense. Knight g5. Okay, so we're often don't know which way to take here on d5. Should we take with the bishop, or should we take with the knight? But I'm seeing an interesting thing here that seems to have been sidestepped by both players. Black takes with the knight, but if he takes with the bishop, then pawn takes, and then pawn plays pawn to e4, forking the queen and rook. So what would happen then? Bishop takes knight, e takes d5, pawn to e4. I guess white can play queen e3, but then e takes e3, queen e7. So that's not, maybe that's not good for black. Bishop d5, I need an expert analyst in here with me. Sometimes it doesn't, good. Andrew. Good, I have Andrew Schley here.
So what's
so I'm looking, what happens if bishop takes d5? pawn takes d5, black plays pawn to e4. Now I'm just assuming that knight takes e4, rook e4, queen e4 is good for black. It's good for black, who's up the exchange.
Okay.
You know, I don't see anything winning for white there. I mean, white might have some play on the...
You get some play on the king side.
And on the light squares, maybe with knight d4, c5, c6. Okay, so that's possible, but
So
what
maybe
happens after e4 if white plays some weird move like queen e3? Then if e takes f3, queen e7. I don't know, my brain is hurting a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you see anything clear? Your brain must be hurting after teaching kids all day.
Yeah, it's a little fuzzy.
This is Andrew, one of our teachers, a chess instructor, Andrew Schley, who's one of the TDs here as well tonight, along with Judith Starry and Abel Talamentes, and you're trying to offer me a little bit of fresh eyes here.
So we have something. If the d5 square is blocked by a pawn, then the advantage is gone, right?
Well, I'm not certain. Well, anyway, let's black takes with the knight. Pawn takes, and then
if we get so the knight took.
Right, and now black's maybe a little worried because if bishop, well, the bishop has to move. After the bishop moves, then comes knight takes e5 and d6, maybe even.
Yeah.
So maybe Stephen should have thought about that before he took on d5, because now he's gone into a deep think.
Or at least taking with the bishop.
Well, that's what I was looking, taking with the bishop. But you don't always know which piece to take with, and it needs to be thought out on a
for a long-term
and also on a case-by-case basis. Sometimes it's better to take with the knight. Sometimes it's better to take with the bishop. Okay, we're going to leave it. We're going to leave it.
White's position either way. So their plans are a little more simple than black. Black has to defend now.
True.
So at least.
Well, we'll see. I mean, it's the structures that count here as well. If bishop d7, knight e5, I think is very, very strong, because if pawn takes d6, bishop d6, queen d6, rook d6, you're on the bishop at d7 and you're on the pawn at e5. Yeah. And black is going to lose something. If black goes...
And white just has more activity too. They can kind of choose what they want to do in the game.
Bishop b7, I think knight e5 is still strong. Takes d6. He played bishop e7. So knight e5 takes d6, bishop d6. We get a bishops of opposite colors situation. Maybe black can hold. I think he's going to lose a pawn. He's still going to lose a pawn. There's a pawn at e5 and the pawn at b6 is both hanging. So black has gotten himself into trouble here. And, oh, I see a problem, a flaw. Knight e5, d5, d6, queen c6.
Threatening mate right away.
Threatening mate on g2, and so black would be a piece ahead, because he can bail out with bishop f6 on the next
was the right
move.
call instead of d7.
So bishop b7 was a good move. Yeah, thanks. Just your being here is sharpening me up.
What do you, no, it doesn't work. Never mind.
Dude, bishop f6 with pin. That's true too, possibly, that bishop f6 just... Well, then knight c4. Okay. But I think it's knight e5, d5, d6, queen c6, and suddenly there's a mate on g2. All right. We'll move along, and we'll let Stephen...
So if...
Yeah.
Okay, never...
Knight e5. Also, you could play bishop e5.
So knight e5,
D takes d6,
queen c6. Can we play queen g3?
You can. Then I'm going to play bishop f6.
Okay, I can take your bishop.
No, you can't. I have a pawn at e5.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. But you can take the pawn on e5, and then you're going to get another pawn you're going to get yet another pawn. But black is going to be piece up. That actually is an interesting position and might be good for white too, although I kind of doubt it. There'll be no attack,
There's no connected passer with
And
it.
black might be able to take on c2. So, yeah, that's not going to work out. Okay. One other possibility I'll leave to you folks back home right now is white can play bishop takes e5 here. So, but we're not going to consider that until later. I've spent enough time. Okay, Eric Lee seems to have won a quick game here. What happened after rook a4? Yeah, black just...
I need to take down the other.
Yeah. This is just black lost a pawn. Now it's 2 bishops versus 2 knights. Black is in disarray. Black is getting... White is simplifying into a winning situation now. 2 pawns up. This is just hopeless for black. All right, so something went wrong here, and white won easily on board 2. And I'll tell you what, I'll review that game really fast, and we'll try to pinpoint. Even though I don't know the opening, I'm going to try to pinpoint a move that where black went wrong quickly. Possibly knight g7. Watch how quickly white is able to exploit the fact that he can take on the pawn on b7, and he very quickly goes for this. I'm not sure still, though. Black seems to be worse here, but not necessarily should have lost so quickly. Maybe rook fd8 lacked any point, and maybe it was time to get more active here with knight e4. It's very difficult to meet f3 and e4. I'm not sure that black is doing well here. The doctor, and now could have played knight b6. I know then rook b4, and you can't play. If you play the other knight to d5, he just takes it, and then you're going to lose b7 as well. So rook c4 looks just strong and wins the pawn on b4, and black just is not. This reaction with b5 probably just hastens the end for him. Is there another move here? I mean, you're just a pawn down, and with a weak pawn at b4 to boot, and white takes off that active bishop. Although he didn't have to, I think he's just trying to make it as simple as possible for himself. And of course, he wins another pawn by force. So this is completely hopeless. All right. Let's go down to Sotokova-Walder, and Walder just played queen e2, and Sotokova had just played queen e2. This game was up in the air and could go either way. White has a pawn and a rook for 2 pieces, for 2 minor pieces. So white kind of has to maybe win another pawn, or somehow be able to take advantage of a slight lead in development to get something going here. Queen d2, so black plays queen c7 to get the queen off the back rank and to attack the rook. And white plays queen d2 to defend the rook and to attack the pawn at f4. Black plays g5, which allows the bishop, does weaken the king side a little bit, but allows the bishop to come out to g6. Rook e6, white is pressing very aggressively here. To attack on f6, black defends with queen f7. Black has been forced to play a lot of defensive moves, and white is thinking here. This has been a really good game, very exciting game, very forceful play by white. Sometimes that can backfire. On the other hand, this is a situation where the player with the better tactical awareness sometimes will prove victorious. And this could go either way. I like this game a lot. Very exciting game on board 3. And by the way, it's on board 1 as well. This is some interesting chess being played. After bishop b, we're going to go right back to board 1 really quickly. White played c4. Okay. Leaving the question about taking on e5 for later. And white has a nice position here. Of course, black has to be aware of that. He can take black. Black has to be aware that white can take on e5 and maybe start rolling up pawns on the king side. But it's unclear. The white for choice, perhaps here a little bit, a little more aggressively placed. Okay. Clemens versus Estolia. This game, we thought black was getting some counterplay now after rook b8. White takes on a7, and black, instead of taking on b2, tries to trap the knight on a7. And that's a kind of a nervy play. Let's see if it works. White plays a4 to get, and rook a8. The white knight can go back on b5, and so black, this has been success, but knight c3 attacks the rook and the pawn on d5. Or just the rook. Okay, so rook there. This seems to have given white a tempo. Let's go back here. After knight a7, I think black got a little too fancy by playing rook b6. If he plays rook takes b2, the pawn at a2 is under attack. The knight is still stranded at a7. And so this is a very, very sort of instructive moment, I think, that this rook b6, which looks kind of active, is in the end going to cost white a move, is going to cost black a move to take, and white gets an extra tempo here because after the knight escapes and he takes on a4, the knight comes back to safety, hitting the rook, and after the rook goes back, white sort of gets this move, rook d1 for free, so to speak. c4 defends the pawn, but now the pawns are static, and white plays e4, and that's an interesting move too. So white's looking for a tactical solution. If pawn takes pawn, maybe just knight d2, threatening knight takes c4. If knight takes e4, bishop takes e7, so that's not even playable. So d takes e4. I don't think white wants to play, or white could play knight takes e4, but then if knight e4, bishop e7, I don't know, things are kind of, another way for white to play this position would be to say, maybe to defend the pawn at b2 and play knight d4. This is an interesting move, though, e4. I kind of like it. And white wants to bust things up and doesn't want to just lose this b2 pawn for nothing. So that's kind of what he's doing. This game ended on board. White won quickly. Let's see what happened after this. Black had a great game, but not here, I think. And white just started to consolidate and say, I'm a pawn up, and then got hit with this, knight f5. That just ruins black's structure no matter what. It takes that way. Knight g7, king g7. Maybe this was a, no, if g4, knight e6 pretty much ends it. So king g7, queen g5. Black is now 2 pawns down for nothing and gave up. Yeah, that's very discouraging. I think black had probably almost a winning advantage out of the opening, and sort of has to go back to the drawing board, folks. I would start with this position after white plays d takes e7 and carefully work out all of the possible moves here for black. Well, the 2 moves being the one he played, queen e7, which I think is probably good, but also queen d1, king d1, knight f2 check, and king e1, knight h1, e takes f8 check, rook takes f8, and then give white a lot of, use your lead in development to sort of prevent white from winning the knight at h1. That's a possibility. I'm going to go through, we're going to take a break in about, I guess, 5 minutes, and I'm going to go through the rest of the games on the boards here. Ethan Boldy versus Sosa Kobian. Black had a great game here, but now is starting to not look so good. B5, this is an impatience play here. And how can this, I don't think this can be good at all. Thank you for the water. Black is opening the game up, but white has the 2 bishops. And okay, so G4. If bishop, okay, and black is thinking here. If bishop, well, the choices are bishop to E6, or bishop takes G4, I suppose. Bishop G4, bishop E4, rook B5, bishop C6, rook B3, and if bishop D7, rook B1. So there are ways and means of black being able to escape here, possibly after bishop G4, bishop E4, rook B5. Black's on a bit of a precipice here, though, with this kind of play, and I think G4 is a good move to dislodge, to win the pawn, to get the white bishop into play, and to dislodge, dislodging the bishop at F5, so you can get the bishop into play. Nice move by white, and necessary. All right, this is board 7. We thought that black was winning here or close to it. Plays rook E8 and white castles. And black plays king B8 to prevent bishop G4. This is not the way to play forcefully enough. I think still black has a good game here, but I had some really crushing moves, I think. I mean, this may end up winning the exchange, or at least winning the pawn back. I mean, black's got a nice grip on the position. I think missed some forcing variations, but and despite the fact that he's 2 pawns down, has a kind of a grip on the position, but it's still unclear. All right. Winslow versus Thiem, and Elliott decided that he would play F4 instead of H4, as I recommended. Black plows along with this, and then, of course, goes for the H file. Honestly, if white can't pick up a pawn here on the king's side, the pawn there on F6, I don't see that he has much. I mean, white has a small positional advantage. You know, in general, white seems to have some advantage here. But wholesale exchanges on the H file, for example, you know, if white plays rook H1, you know, I don't think either player then can play, you know, white can, probably neither player then could initiate exchanges on the H file, except for white, who could play king G2, rook H8, rook H8, rook H1, or something like that. But black probably has enough counterplay in the center there. I mean, it's white for choice slightly, but tough little game there. All right, we're going to go to this game where we thought that white was not achieving that much. Black defends the pawn with rook E7, preparing to move the knight on B6. White plays knight out to A4, exchange on the C file, and exchange there. Black has a nice, positionally, has a very good game here. This is well played by black, I think, although had to take back at C7. This is just kind of, and that allows bishop A5. some tactics here that look like they're favoring white. And this is a bit of a tragedy for black here, who now finds himself a piece down. This is a position that a grandmaster would be able to win with some accuracy, or an international master with white, I think. White has all the winning chances here. It's a little bit difficult and requires some accuracy. And for example, there, bishop e5 should maybe have been played and offer the exchange of bishops. I'm not sure what direction white is playing in by playing bishop f4. Every move sort of needs to be precise in this position and to the point. White is correct, I think, to try to exchange pieces here. Of course, that would make it easier for white to win. White is definitely in the driver's seat. Black went wrong here. Black had a great game, and I'm not sure what happened here. Played a little too fast. Queen takes. Maybe knight d5 wasn't necessary there. Just play rook c7 right away and challenge the file. The knight can always go to d5. Right now it stands at a good spot. Maybe this is just a slight inaccuracy. Bishop d2. Rook c7. And so again, black is sort of giving white a slight tactical chance here. So what happens is rook c7, queen c7. Okay, so if black takes with the queen, which is the natural move, can white play queen e8 check? If bishop f8, bishop takes h6. If king h7, that's dangerous for both players maybe. Queen f7, bishop e5 wins on the spot. Oh no, can't play bishop e5 because it's pinned. The king is on h7. So queen c7, queen e8, king h7, queen f7. Black could play queen f7 and then bishop e4, but then the pawn's hanging on h6. We're steering into drawn territory there. White would play probably b3 or something like that. Instead, black takes with the knight, and then comes bishop a5. And now, a little bit awkward, folks. Maybe queen d6 is the right move. You need to get out of this pin. Queen d6 might do it here. High on the king's side, and I don't, I might play an actual chess game one of these days. I'm having too much fun commenting and poking fun at everybody else's games. Okay, so it looks to me possible for black to play queen d6 here. Instead, b5, queen c2, okay, that's clear. The knight is lost. Black tries to wiggle out with queen d4, but knight f3 is a fine reply. And white doesn't have another move here. Black, I don't think has another move after queen c2 that I can see. If bishop e5, d takes e5, and then there's no move that sort of simultaneously threatens mate and with the queen and unpins the knight. So queen d4, knight f3 is a nice little slow-looking move, but it does win a piece, and we get this endgame, which I think should be winning for white. In fact, I think black makes it, maybe that was his only hope, is to trade. This is not easy. This is not easy for white here in this position. Both players are moving their kings towards the center. Black has two pawns and is pretty solid. He can also make a pretty good diversion here by creating a passed pawn on or threatening to create a passed pawn on the queen side. That's going to force white knight and king to be sort of tied up, and maybe then he can try something on the king side. I doubt it, though. I doubt it. I think that with correct play, this is probably a win for white without that much trouble. Folks, we're going to take a 5-minute break, and I'm going to be back. And hello to everybody out there. Thanks for joining us. Please come back in 5 minutes. Right now, all you zillions of people watching us can go take a quick look at Naroditsky playing chess, but then come back to where the real action is. Yeah, it is an interesting end game. We'll come back to it or see what happens. All right, bye for now. Back in 5 minutes. see me, and we're back for round 6 of the Tuesday night marathon. We're watching, right now, this is the top board, Russell Wong versus Stephen Gaffigan. And we're going to see how this game progressed to this point. Let's see, Queen D4. Let's just go back a little bit. E5, Queen D3, castles, Rook D1. Yeah, this happened. We thought white was perhaps a slight bit better. Maybe if he can play F5, F4, but this could go either way. I don't think H6 helped black's cause that much. Black would like to play F5, but white could force an immediate draw with bishop H6. Takes and check, and queen G6 and queen takes H6 check. Excuse me. Of course, the white rook could come up, one of the white rooks could come up to the 3rd rank, and that might be pretty scary for black. But black's not going to play F5 here and allow bishop takes H6. I want to come right back here, though. Black plays rook A8, maybe directly against the idea of white taking with a piece on E5, which white could have considered. Black's now maybe ready to play F5. So after bishop C1, the question is, why doesn't he play F5 right now? H6 looks like he's hesitating, and I don't like that move very much. Queen F5, though, black can just play bishop C8 here. Well, actually, that's what he does play. Maybe G6 is possible, and if queen H3, H5, but that's a lot of weakening moves out there. H6 is the culprit here, I think. After queen F5, bishop C8, queen H5, it's a little awkward for black now around the king side. Maybe, yeah, this is not easy now. It's not completely clear how white will continue the attack, but there's some, or if he even has an attack. Maybe queen D7 with the idea of playing queen G4 or queen F5, as awkward as that looks. Black could maybe think about playing queen D7 here. Otherwise, it makes me nervous to hang out, allowing white has possibilities of taking on it. Just the white queen hanging out so close to the king is cause for nervousness. Let's see, this game, Sodakova versus Walder, has progressed. We had this really tense situation here after queen F7, white throwing more wood into the fire, so to speak, with knight D5, knight D5, queen D5. White centralized, just brutally centralized here. Can black queen G8 with the idea of playing bishop F7? Black is, of course, white can play queen takes G5, or can white play queen takes G5? White cannot play queen takes G5. And I'll give you 3 seconds to figure out why. 1, 2, 3. If queen takes G5, bishop takes B2 check. I have the best job in the world, I guess, if I can just sit here and comment on chess. So queen G5, bishop takes B2 check, and it's all over but the crying. So white plays bishop C6, interesting choice. Bishop C6, and then the queen comes back. The second time that white queen has had to retreat from the center without having that much to show for it. You have interesting material balance here. I think that black should be doing well here, but this is really it's a tough situation. Maybe black could think about playing bishop takes g2. Black is close to taking over the initiative here, but has to be very careful. Still a tough game. This is Clemens versus Astolis. We had this interesting e4 move played back here, and black took on e4, which we thought was, and white played knight e2. I sort of predicted this positional, or rather tactical method to defend the white pawn at b2, threatening to take on c4. Knight e5, knight e4. So I can see this. So if knight takes e4, bishop e7, knight d2, rook d2, and miraculously, the pawn at b2 is defended. Of course, black can play, yeah. Somehow this, I can see this game frittering out to a draw. If the b and c pawns go, we're going to have a definite draw here, which would reflect well on both players. Both players have played a good game. We'll go to Boldy Jacobian. This, we left off around here, rook c1, rook c1, bishop c1, rook b8, g4 was a good move. Thank you, everybody, for your kind words. Bishop g4, bishop e4, rook b5. Yes, the game on board 10 was covered. Rook g3. Black can't take on e2 because of the hanging knight at d7. So white has the two bishops, and there's still, if the pawn at c5 can be somehow targeted, black could be in trouble here. This has been a tough little game with some surprising decisions taken by both sides. I'll go back through the game on board 10 really quickly in a minute. Bumblebee. Although you can look yourself on Chess24 and play over the game. We are on that, we are on that website as well, Chess24. So black was pressuring white considerably here, and white played rook c1, and black is close to winning here, maybe. Let's see, he plays knight e2 check, rook e2, queen takes d3, and white bails out with rook e8, and then knight f1. So now white's going a pawn down in the endgame, maybe after queen d1, rook e1, knight c4. No, he's not a pawn down, it's even. 3-2 on both sides of the board. And white could even think of playing rook g7 there. Well, black could also play queen a3. And then white maybe will play c5. So this game, white's managed to get himself out of has pretty much managed to get himself out of a bad jam here. Black will have to go back to the drawing board. Although black played resourcefully, he was 2 pawns down. Yeah, queen takes a3. Yeah. Okay, Winslow theme. This game has basically just kind of like, okay, so they're going for the H file, there's the E file, and black is using tactics here. Bishop f4 is a threat, white king goes back to f3, and black is playing very, very actively. The pawn at d5 is targeted now, and white hasn't made much progress in the last couple of moves. Yeah, this position is not so. White has the 2 bishops in the better pawn structure, but black is solid here, and this is not going to be easy for white to make progress. I want to go just back here after h5. That white might have considered h4. I'm going to just throw that out there again as a possibility. And maybe, or maybe just leave the kingside pawns alone. Let's roll out to, let's go, okay, we're going to take a quick look at Jonah Bush versus Ashik Uzaman. And you can see the problems that white faces here, even though he's a knight for two pawns. If king c3, then e4 takes, pawn takes pawn. It's a position with danger for both sides. Also, if king c3, maybe black could play h5, or king c3 looks like the right move here for white. This is very, very difficult to evaluate properly. White is certainly better here. I'm not sure about, yeah, live coverage on YouTube may resume at some point. As we're working on these issues. F3, okay, so, and we'll run through board 10 here really quickly. It was very exciting, folks. It was a King's Gambit, and it was not only a King's Gambit, it was the Algar variation, where white sacrifices his knight for 2 pawns. But then slows himself down with d3. d4 was probably better, or maybe knight c3. Black now goes into winning position mode with f3, very strong move, threatening queen takes h4. And white is now forced to sacrifice his rook, and a rook in this endgame is completely lost, of course. Being a rook and a piece down does not help. And black had no difficulty simplifying and trading at every opportunity. And white is really got nothing much going on here, folks. And he's faced with mate in 1 with rook h2. So he finally gave up. And that was the game on board 10, which we won't go back to again. And okay, so Gaffigan plays king h7. Maybe he hasn't found my idea of playing queen d7 and queen g4. After king h7, black can play f5. Can try to play f5 again. White can play bishop g5 maybe here, or knight g5 check, and it's still, white's working on some tactical possibilities here. And so we'll see what's going to happen with that. I just want to let folks know that are watching, we're going to start a half hour earlier next week. We're going to start at 7 o'clock to get things rolling. Yeah, get things rolling a little quicker.
Well, we're kind of developing a well-oiled machine now, so we started at 7:30 to give us an hour to catch up to
set things up,
set everything up, and account for our mistakes and things of that nature.
Mistakes.
Yeah, we learn lessons on a daily basis, but
for sure.
But yeah, now everything is smooth, and why not start a little earlier if we can? And
I can see us even starting at an earlier point at some point. The games start at 6:30. We're going to start commentary at 7 p.m.
And we were joking, like, we could start at 5 p.m. and then you could take an hour of challenges. People wanted to play games, play Bullet.
Sure, I'll do it. I can't play Bullet. I can. I'll play. I'll play.
What would be an acceptable?
The fastest time control I'll play at is a quarter of a minute a piece with a 2-second increment.
A quarter of a minute?
A quarter of a minute to start out with a 2-second increment, and I'll take on anybody that wants to play. If we can set it up with chess.com.
Wow, a quarter of a minute with 2-second increment, all comers.
I'll take on people. Yeah.
You heard it here first, and just for the record, we've never discussed this until now. So
we can also do ones that are slightly slower, like maybe 30 seconds, or a minute.
That's like faster than Bullet.
But no, Bullet is too. Bullet I can't play. I can't play Bullet.
Well, yeah, because there's no increment on that.
I want to play with an increment,
Sure,
but I'll start off with a quarter of 15 seconds.
Well,
and then I'll take on all comers. Sure.
And just for the for the viewers that are watching, we won't have a newsletter this week.
Not a bad idea.
We won't have a newsletter this week just because of the short week. We will PGN the games and put them up online, but maybe in the next newsletter I'll announce that. It's like, hey, next broadcast.
We have to figure out a platform that I can do it on, though.
Yeah, Paul's willing to play people quarter of a minute with 2-second increment, all comers.
We can maybe we can do it on Lichess. I have an account on Lichess, so it's possible we can just put Lichess up here.
Incorporate into.
I don't know how people would challenge me though. We'd have to figure out a way to do it. I don't think I have an account with them, but I could
create
set one
that
out.
one.
Yeah.
I mean, we have Mechanics has an account.
Right.
Just for the streaming.
Yeah.
We figure
We'll figure it out. Yeah, sure. We'll get it going and
highest bidder.
Total. All right. Well,
we take the purity out of it, right?
Yeah. No, we'll have some fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll figure it out.
We'll
figure it out. Just anything we try, we'll figure it out. So anyway, yeah, no.
That's a fun idea. You put me on the spot, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
It's like I put you on the spot. You're like calling out the time control, and all comers, but it could be fun. And let's see where that goes.
Sure. I'm willing to do it. I think it would be fun to do for maybe the first half hour or something.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah,
or
yeah.
15 minutes or
just
something like that.
Brief, interact,
or maybe we can find a way to do it at some lull point during the broadcast.
Or Mark can tell us where we're starting to get boring. Hey, let's play some Bullet.
Right.
So, but it could be fun. Actually, it's another new, different way to interact with the community.
Sure.
Right? So,
I do play anonymously, and I have an account on Lichess. So, but I might have made one for chess.com a long time ago. But if I have a rating there, it wouldn't. I'm not sure what it would be. I think I'm 23 plus on Lichess.
But if we streamed our and we use chess.com's platform, we have a Mechanics streaming account.
Right.
And
I'll just play. I'll be that person.
Yeah.
I'll be the Mechanics
You'll
streamer.
be Mechanics Chess. Mechanics Chess. That's the name.
Okay.
So
Sure.
Anyway, all right, I'll let you get back to the
No,
games.
I like
but
it.
let's,
In fact,
let's talk about it more.
Challenge.
Oh,
I welcome the challenge.
Perfect.
I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is.
Yeah. And maybe we'll all do it. I'll do it, and Judith will do it.
Yeah, we'll all contribute.
Take all comers.
We'll take on all comers. That's a great idea.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah. With any idea, we'll try it out.
Yeah.
It goes. All right.
All right. Thanks, Abel. All right. Yeah. Okay. So G4 is play, and G4 is a radical idea to play for white to play G5. And ideas are what keep things going in the chess world. So queen d7 now as well could possibly slow white down. White would have to play h3, I think, to prevent queen takes g4. And then maybe black could think about playing f5. Then white then has to watch out for g5. Black's setup here, g4 is a radical, stab at trying to play g5 or something. It could backfire though. It's definitely weakening, and white's in a little bit of a needing to do something mode here as well. So the game is definitely heating up here. Okay, on board 3, Sotokova-Walser. This game was white retreated the queen to d3. Black plays rook f8, kind of huddling up the pieces on the king's side, and didn't take on g2. And so white decides to defend against that threat, and I can see why. I mean, maybe black should have thought about taking on g2. Bishop d7, attacking the rook. And of course, if rook takes d7, queen takes e6. So white plays rook e7. There's one rook on the 6th rank, one rook on the 7th rank, attacking the bishop c6. Now queen a2 is a threat. And it's also perhaps a tacit offer of a draw, because if white plays rook on 7 to e6, black can play back to d7, bishop back to d7, and we might have a draw coming up. So this is a bit of a tacit offer of a draw. If white wants to play on, she'll have to come up with something other than rook to e6. It could be pawn to b3. It could be pawn to c4. It could be any move that stops queen takes a2. So a very dangerous position for both sides, I would say. Clemens versus Estolas on board 4, I think. And Clemens is having a great tournament. His rating is 1900. He's got 3 points in this. And Pane also on board, who lost on board 2, is also having a great tournament. But Clemens has beaten Elliot Winslow in this tournament. I think he drew, did he draw Sotokova in the last round? I'm not sure. I can look right now. I'm going to peek and see what Clemens did. Yes, he drew with Sotokova last round. So he's really having a breakout tournament for himself here. And he's using a lot of tactics. We've seen him kind of using a lot of tactics to try to get things going in this position. Let's see. So after knight takes e4, black forces things with g5. Clemens exchanges on f6. Rook takes on f6. Okay. I guess that's, if the bishop takes, the bishop goes back to g3, and then there's the threat of taking on e5 and then taking on c4. Black sidesteps that by taking with the rook, but now there's the same idea, and maybe black is even worse placed than if he had taken with the bishop, because now the b2 pawn is not targeted at all. If white can pick up the c4 pawn for free, he's going to be in the driver's seat. So let's see, if black plays knight d3, rook c2, and then followed by knight c4. I think black might have messed this up here, and Christian is doing well here. After knight f6, maybe just a simple bishop takes f6 would have been better. And then just take on b2. Players are getting fancy, and it's backfiring. Boldy versus Jacobian. this is kind of a bit of an interesting ending. So bishop e4, rook b5, rook went back to d3 to defend the pawn, because if bishop c6, then rook b3, bishop d7, rook b1. Oh, I'm sorry, bishop d7, rook d7, rook b1 would be. No, that doesn't work. So bishop c6. If rook b3, bishop d7, white's going to win a piece there. So what happens on bishop c6? Maybe black plays rook b6. And then if bishop d7, rook takes d6, bishop g4, rook d1 check, and wins the bishop on c1. So that looks like the tactical problem for white here. If bishop c6, not rook takes b3, because of bishop d7, and if bishop d7, rook d7, rook b1, rook d1, or if bishop c6, rook takes b3, bishop d7, rook b1 right away, then bishop takes g4. So if bishop c6, rook b6, and then if white follows through with trying to win 2 pieces for a rook by playing bishop c6, bishop takes d7, then black plays rook d6, bishop g4, rook d1 check, and picks up the bishop on c1. Anyway, white plays, that's just something I'm looking at, riffing on, rook d3, rook b8. Black is trying to cover the back rank. White can play bishop h6, and maybe he's worried about that. Bishop f4, rook b4, so, and maybe not. Maybe black's just moving back and forth. This does threaten the bishop on e4, which if it moves, f3, the bishop on f4 is lost. Bishop e6, bishop c6. Is black in trouble here with these kind of thoughtless moves of moving the rook back to b8 and then the rook to b4, and now after f3, could get into trouble on the back row here. And that's kind of what some of the theme is. This knight is not well placed, and maybe black should have thought about getting it into the game. After bishop e6, bishop c6, this could be trouble. If knight f6, bishop h6. Let's see, rook takes b4, bishop d7, rook d7, and then rook b4, and we're heading for a draw. Okay. So black should play rook f4 here. Bishop d7, bishop d7, rook d7, rook b4, rook c7, rook b3, rook c5, and we have a drawn endgame. And that looks like what's happening. Bishop c6 is maybe a bailout move for white, actually, as it turns out. And black also needs to bail out in this situation, because the position would become very dangerous if white could play bishop h6. So 2 bailout moves. I don't think black should try anything fancy here. I think just exchanging on d7 and then exchanging the c for the b pawn, and we'll have a draw, almost certain draw. This is Melville. Oh my gosh, this is a headache here. We have 3, let's see, knight f1, queen d1, rook d1, knight c4, rook d7, knight a3, and we have a race here between a knight and 3 pawns on one side versus a knight and 3 pawns on the other, and with rooks on the board as well. To me, it looks like black is better situated. And he sets the pawn in motion right away. And the reason I'm saying that is his rook is better. White's rook is sort of standing almost in the way of his own pawns and is not fulfilling any defensive purpose, whereas the black rook is defensive and offensive, and also black knight is better placed, and the black pawn is one square. I'd say black has quite a large advantage here almost. The time control is game in 2 hours with a 5-second delay. I'll look at bishop h6 there in a minute. This is a crazy position with a black much better or somewhat better, and white's rook is fulfilling a very odd space there now. And was it necessary for black to play rook e1? Is rook e1 a waste of time? I like the idea of maybe finding a way to centralize the black knight and then pushing the pawns on the queen side. Hi, hello, Mansoor Taj. Mansoor Taj. Mansoor, your friend is winning all of his games here. So, and we miss you. So you should come back and play here. Yeah, the moves are, well, you can see what we're doing here on the king's side. I'm not sure about exactly how much time we are into the round, but the games are starting to sort of get, some of them, we're getting to 10 games or 7 or 8 games and coming back, and I'm going through the moves quickly. From the last time we looked at them. So that's one of the reasons why the moves seem to be going fast. For example, here's Winslow. This game has, the last time we left off was right here. And some moves have been played. So that's why the moves seem to, since I was last looking at it, which is why some of the, it looks like it's going fast. Bishop on b3 looks like it's just fulfilling defensive purposes, but now white, it frees up the white rook, and we're seeing those exchanges on the h file that I was talking about. This endgame is probably not a win for white, I don't think. You know, it just black seems like, I mean, white is better, but I think that black should probably be able to hold this. And that's an interesting move. I was just looking at that move. The idea is to cripple, even though you get more crippled pawns, you're going to come up and play king d6 and knight d5 really fast here. And so that's a very interesting and tactically kind of aware move. Yeah. He's preparing and winning, yeah. Good, I'm glad you're coming back. So this bishop c5 is an interesting move. And notice what happens after black takes back with the bishop. His pawns are in ruins. But the black king, he's going to win a pawn with king d6 and knight takes d5. And then the black pawns, I mean, it's not clear what's going on here, but it's an interesting way for black to fight in this position. All right, we're going to go to this game. This was another game with giving me a headache here. Very difficult to play. King c3, e4, knight b4 check, king e5. It's possible that white should take on e4 here, although that would allow some penetration by king takes e4 and then maybe king e3. It's a very position fraught with danger here. So white instead is trying to keep the king out of the, and attacking the pawns from behind. This is very interesting play here. Takes. King d2. So maybe white Can white play knight a7 here? And he's worried about black creating a passed pawn, but I mean, I'm not sure about king d2. It might be necessary. This is a very difficult position, would require extensive analysis, I think. It looks to me like white is doing the right thing by using the knight behind the pawns like this, and has definitely made some progress here. But I'm not sure about king d2, but of course I couldn't be. a3 is interesting. I'm not sure though. Maybe attacking with pawns on the king side, trying to create a passed pawn on the king side is maybe a better idea. Knight b4, f4. Now he's doing it, but the pawn is targeted here on the and lost immediately. This doesn't change anything. In fact, it makes it worse for black, probably. I think black is just sort of acquiescent, unless there's a breakthrough here on the king side. Black is sort of acquiescing to his doom here. What happens if king e2? And that's what he plays.
There's nothing for black.
I think black just completely lost a bunch of tempo here, and white got everything he wanted.
Well, I think king d2 almost stops any counterplay on the king side.
Back here, king d2. That might have been a very good move.
That's why he played it.
Yeah.
So then black's king couldn't get to e3, taking the space.
So let's go back here.
Would it have been better to take with the?
No, white did very well here. After e4, knight check, king e5, and this attacking from the back behind with the knight. It's a great move. King here takes. Is it possible he could take with the pawn? Maybe. All this would have to be looked at. King e4 and king g2. Now is a3. That doesn't make sense to me. Why not play f4 and g4 right away and create a...
If you play f4, doesn't king e2 just stop?
g4. Black just helped white here.
Yeah.
I mean, he just helped him, and I think he made it easier. And he could have reached this position with his pawn still intact over there. Instead, there's no breakthrough here. Okay. Back up to board one, and Gaffigan goes for f5, and they're still thinking. So white's play looks artificial, and somehow you don't think it should work. But g5 looks like the only move here. And then simply f4 maybe. Yeah, a3 is a head scratcher, and I think he did screw it up. If I can say that on TV. Yeah, and our games we do archive all of our Twitch videos videos on YouTube. So you can see every single broadcast that we've done. We've had Caruana on this show, if I'll call it a show, and Nick DeFermian and many very strong player grandmasters, as well as some just chess personalities, and they can all be seen on our channel, Mechanics Chess. Just look us up on YouTube, and you'll just a little too much of me, but plenty of other things to keep you occupied. Let's see. Okay, so this game, black looks like he's maybe doing well here. G5, F4, G6 check. Just king goes back. There's no other piece but the queen participating in the attack. So white is in trouble, maybe after g5, f4. I'm finding it a little difficult to find a reasonably good move here for white. Okay, I won't try any further. I'll go back down to board 3, and Natalia, true to her nature, plays to win with b3, and black plays a5 to play a4. And white plays a4. Bishop e8 to redeploy the bishop onto the g6 square, perhaps, but it does hang a pawn. So black is, white has a lot of pressure here, even though black has the two bishops, and it's not mate. There's a lot of black is tied up a lot here, and it's difficult to find a move almost if you start looking at it carefully. Black should maybe try to trade rooks here with rook e8.
We have Jonas Bush.
Okay.
6 out of 6.
I'm watching some great chess here, man.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, Jonah's back.
Happy to be back in the booth.
Okay. You were here. Okay.
Yeah.
You got some cooperation from your opponent, but you played a good game, and looks like what's Jonah Bush?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
On board 1 in the AB section, and now a perfect 6-0.
Off to a good start.
Congratulations,
Thank
man.
you.
You're not going to be an A player for long. I mean, you're probably already rated an expert.
That's the goal. I'd love to get there.
I think you are there already.
Well, let's see. Got to prove it. So
You still have 3 rounds to go.
I've got to buy for one of them, so I won't be 9 for 9, but
Right.
I've got 2 more chances to win. So.
All right, so Alapin Sicilian, and I don't know much about this, but I'll tell you, I thought black got a good game out of this.
He did, yeah.
And so you might consider, this is now resembles a bunch of other openings, like a Grunfeld, maybe not a Grunfeld, but a Panel Botvinnik or some other
ones I haven't heard of, yeah.
Yeah. Like this could come out of a Carol Khan, believe it or not.
Probably so, yeah, looks like it.
Where white plays,
I've just pushed the e5 pawn before, which could also be a Caro Kann, but I've had bad luck with that, and I've had better luck with this, so I gave it a go.
So maybe bishop b3 here.
Probably an option.
Right.
But
the exchange of these bishops is usually to black's advantage. Although this could, you tactically,
that's kind of what I'm hoping for, is it's going to delay a while and I can get into c7 somehow.
Yeah, but this
it didn't work out.
Like this kind of, maybe if you can play d5 quickly.
Yep.
And
I could have probably gotten it in a move or two.
Maybe
I could
even now, and giving up, if black would be maybe loath to give up that bishop.
Yeah, he'd win a pawn from me there if I do it now.
Right.
I'm gonna have to look at this. I obviously didn't get the better of him in this.
And I'm not sure
sequence.
a6 is a right move here too, because you develop some pressure on b7.
That's right. I mean, he's trying to keep my knight from going to b5 and c7. And so that I lost my chance to push my d pawn, which is often what I want to do in these isolated d pawn
and
Alapins.
it's nice for white usually to have the light squared bishop. So there's some trouble. There's some troubling aspects here.
Absolutely.
But there's a little. You've got some pressure, and there's also the problem. Black also has some issues because
he can't take that yet.
a6 may not have been.
They left the knight
So what happens
hanging.
if queen takes d4?
I move my rook over from e to d, and I think I win the knight then.
But then queen e5.
Oh,
So
maybe the other rook. Yeah.
Rook cd1, and if queen c5.
Well, I'm happy, I think, to let him take it, and I can kick him around. I can always, if I get desperate, the knight can take one of the either c7 or g6, and then I win the knight on b6.
I've got. Let's try to get really concrete. Though.
Okay,
Let's
all right,
say
sure.
Queen
Yeah.
d4. I mean, you don't want to just lose a pawn, right? Let's try knight f3. Okay, the queen has to maintain contact with the knight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if queen c5, bishop e3, boom.
Mm-hmm.
So he has to play back to d6 or d8. If he plays back to d8,
I can
I
get a
think
rook over.
then you put the rook over. Well, then he's can maybe
get a
put the
queen on
knight
the
on
c7.
d5. So maybe it's worth looking at it at home and
Mm-hmm.
working it out precisely.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna, people are gonna want to test you on these kind of.
Yeah. Well,
you
so
know,
go back and move, because this
Yeah.
is to the bishop, because this is where I spent, and then bring his pawn down to sorry,
okay.
to h6.
Right.
And now here I spent about half an hour thinking, because what I really wanted to make work was bishop takes knight, bishop takes bishop, knight takes g6, pawn takes back the knight. I bring my rook up and capture on e6, but I couldn't figure out a way to make any of that work.
I see.
Because I can't get my other c-file knight and rook into the game.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what I spent a lot of time looking at. So
Okay.
it ended up the bishop sortie didn't do me
Right.
any good.
Rook e7 and knight a4, and this is, you know, black still
Yeah.
has this little awkward thing going on though, and he doesn't quite get away from he could maybe play knight d5, the other knight to d5 here or something.
Yeah, he brings one of them in ultimately.
So rook c1, knight e4, queen a4. Now this isn't, I don't like this. He needs to play rook c7 maybe right away, right? This square is not going away.
Yeah, I've lost
But this
it.
rook is still, so if black plays rook c7, I think black is going to have a nice game.
Yeah,
You know,
let's
and
let's
the
see.
the bishops are black has all the better minor pieces in the d5 square. So I don't like the structure too much, but you've done really well to keep it just sort of in flux. And this is
Yeah.
an inaccuracy, I think. And what happens is when black tries this, he gets a little stuck here because
yeah.
if queen takes
I'm gonna
queen
move the
e8
queen in
and
there and
bishop
cause some
in
problems.
there,
Yeah.
a lot of problems, I think. So he gets a little stuck, and then you get this move,
Yeah.
and now he blunders.
Well, that's right, because queen d6 keeps it alive.
Queen d6 keeps it alive, for sure.
Yeah.
And but he blunders, and partly he blunders because you've induced it by aggressive play. I think you know you've not.
I
Queen
think he
c2.
thought maybe 2 moves ahead, but not 3
Yeah,
moves ahead.
exactly.
'Cause yeah.
So now we get into this interesting endgame.
Oh, I'm going to be having dreams about knight
Right.
and pawn endgames.
Right. You could have maybe accomplished your goal a little faster
With
if
the
you played
bishop
bishop
there.
e5.
Yeah, so, right. I was just thinking, he trades, but I thought he was going to move the bishop, and so I wanted to have the bishop on the a5, e1 diagonal instead of the long diagonal. I don't know if that's right, but I thought it's stopping his a and b pawns. So that was my idea.
Okay. The other thing, of course, is just to play
Get the
king
king in,
f1
and
and king
yeah,
a2
central.
and king g3.
Yeah.
So bishop f4 just look kind of a little bit. I'm not sure. And then this was a little. I'm not sure about. Yeah, I guess g5.
I mean,
is
my plan was to get the bishops off the board, and in hindsight, maybe. Yeah, what do you think? Am I better? Is this
You are
in-game
better.
easier
I think
for
this
me
is.
with,
I think this is probably a technical win.
with the
But,
which
but
one-
like let's say Karpov is white and Kasparov is
Yeah.
black.
Yeah.
I think Karpov would win the game 75, 85, 90% of the
Okay.
chance. I think that white
I would
is
happily
objective.
turn my game over to Karpov and let
No,
him,
but this is
go to work.
tough though
Yeah,
because
yeah, it was tough.
because it's because of and black maybe could have drawn this game.
But does it help me if the bishops are still on the board? I didn't see
It
an
might
advantage.
have, and I'm not
Yeah.
sure so I'm not sure that you should have offered the exchange of bishops before improving your position
I see.
first.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason is because this resembles a king and pawn ending where you're 2 pawns down. Of
Yeah,
course,
one
you
on
do
each
have a
side,
knight,
so that's hard.
Right.
And-
And I
yeah.
think maybe if black had just played and then you're going to have to look at other things that you could have done.
Yeah,
here, like,
absolutely.
for example, instead of playing knight e4,
Just get the king
just bring
out
your king in
first.
first, or maybe after he plays knight f, maybe. Okay, so this looks reasonable. Why not? Yeah, black has to play that because if king d6, knight b7 check. So let's
He's
just
rolling me back much faster than I would like,
Right.
but
you played very well at this point. And it's black, and this is the correct strategy, is to use the knight behind the pawns, right? It's perfect. You can, so we'll have to find out, for example, okay, so he's in check.
yeah,
Right.
I don't want to let him penetrate.
Right. Right, sure. Takes, king takes. I think king takes is right. But here, he throws away the game, I think. He throws away the game.
Oh, yeah, with the pawns.
With the pawn
Yeah,
move,
yeah, yeah. He lets
which
me.
immobilizes his own pawn. He should play
Yeah.
f4, g4. He needs, black strategy should be to liquidate all the pawns.
Sure.
Right? Black's
Yeah,
not trying to win.
he'd like to do that. I mean, I think I can end up kind of doing what I did anyway, which is
By playing,
let the knight take those pawns and then get my
but
king
see,
to stop.
how
the
do you
king's-
attack them if he doesn't immobilize his own pawns? So
well, I want to get from here. I can get a3.
right, but then when you move the knight, you can have to be aware that he can possibly play
do b4
play
and get
b4.
a breakthrough.
So
I think
it
I can
depends
time it where he does that. Like I moved my
go ahead.
Knight, if knight to a7, b4. The pawn on a3 takes it.
Right. A3
A3. I've got my knight
on A7. It's kind of
that-
far away.
Well, his knight's on a3 at that point.
No, I'm saying if
let
white
me
plays
see, if
A3, if white plays A3 and knight A7, right, and then black plays B4 and you take and black plays A3, that
Yeah.
knight is too far away. That
it's-
knight is
yeah.
too far away to come back and catch the A pawn.
So that's what I'm counting. I'm counting that, and
Right.
I thought there were some
So
lines
there's
where I would have
some
gotten
trouble
it, but
here.
Yeah,
There's some trouble.
He
here
made it
for
easier
white.
for me.
He made it way easy for
Yeah,
you.
with
by playing
a3.
A3.
That was a.
And
I
I
was
think
happy
now
about
you're
that.
winning
Yeah,
because
I think
he now see look how many tempo he's behind.
Yeah, it takes him a lot of
He's given away
pawns.
both his pawns where he could have had both of his pawns.
Yeah, he obviously would rather
Right.
have
Yeah.
them. than
So
not,
but on the other hand, we're always helped by our opponent's bad moves, and this is of course there's no way for black to have done anything here.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I
No.
mean, as long as I can get my king behind the pawns and keep one white pawn on the
Yeah.
board, then.
Well, this is completely lost. Good game. Congratulations,
you.
man. 6-0.
Yeah,
Well,
it's first time
I've never gone 6-0 in a tournament.
playing the AB section with
Yeah,
me, and
I don't know.
we're the
Yeah. Okay. Good.
well.
Good.
It's a lot of fun.
Are you playing next round?
I've got to buy.
Buy in round
yeah,
7.
Yeah, and then I'll
Okay.
be back for 7 and 8.
Okay. All right.
So
Good. Well,
the
good
perfect
luck.
score will be
Will
over
be,
a little bit.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
you know,
It'll be a
you
perfect
can
score if
stay
you win all your
undefeated,
rest of your
perhaps.
games.
That's the goal.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
All right. Thank you.
All right,
It's a lot of
Jonah.
fun, and you
Yeah,
do
yeah.
a great job with these.
With the
podcasts,
broadcast.
whatever, yeah.
We're trying. We're having fun.
Yeah.
And half of the fun is just like getting the club players in here. Everyone's getting their 5 minutes of fame.
Absolutely. And
15 minutes.
I have to do this because my parents are in town. My father, who taught me how to play chess,
that
is in
right?
town, and he's loving these games.
Is
so,
that right? Is he
so
watching?
Hi,
Is
Dad.
he
well,
watching?
He will be.
He will be. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll put it on YouTube.
Yeah,
and
last time said hi
Right.
to my wife. So this is really 5
All
minutes
right.
of fame here.
Congratulations.
All
Yeah.
right.
All right.
So thanks so much.
Sure. Yeah. All right. See you next. See you the week after next. Okay. All right. That was Jonah Bush against Ashik Uzman, the top board in the AB section, and Jonah Bush is a perfect 6-0, folks, and enjoying himself very much. Let's go back up to board 1 here after F5, and Russell throws in the knight to G5 check. And black plays bishop takes g5, which looks safe enough. Of course, king g8 is a possibility. Oh, then knight e6. Okay, that's a little, that could get a little rough. Black takes, bishop g5, attacks the rook on d8, rook d e8. This looks threatening, but black seems to be completely fine. G takes f5 to avoid losing a pawn on g4, bishop f5. Let's see if, what would happen if black played rook f5, then queen e8. Okay, and if rook g5 check, I guess the white king steps out of the way with king h1 or something, and black couldn't find a win. Or a way to get in on the light squares easily enough. Bishop f5 is perfectly good, though. Bishop h4. And this position is better for black, obviously. Whether it's a win or not is still up in the air. But white's exposed the king. White's king is more exposed than black's here. The light squares around the king are very weak. And if I was black, I'd be feeling like I did very well in this position. So if black can find a way to penetrate with the queen and the bishop, on the other hand, a white rook on e3 is going to cover a lot of squares over there. So this is still better for. Better for black, but still unclear enough. Okay, black plays queen d7. Let's roll on to board 3, where this exciting game between Sodakova and Michael Walder taking place. Sodakova grabs the pawn on b7. The black bishop takes up position on g6. This couldn't be a more double-edged position. Queen b5, attacking 2 pawns. So Michael Walder really needs to, get something going here with black. Rook c8, targeting c2, c4, and you could say white's position is sort of getting opened up a little bit. If a black piece can penetrate, black major piece, queen or rook, can penetrate into the back row, white's first row here. It's going to be dangerous. The bishops are powerful. So queen g5 looks possible. Queen takes g5. And then, gosh knows what's happening. White can think about sacrificing, or maybe can bail out at some point by sacrificing a rook for one of the bishops. And being a piece down, but with a lot of pawns and not getting mated. One of the dangers here, of course, is that white king is very exposed, and check on the back rank or something like that. The bishops are very powerful, but this has been a great game. This has been a really fun game to watch. Both Natalia's style is just completely uncompromising. She'd rather, go down in a blaze of glory than to lose a boring game, or than I think to draw a boring game. And this is a really tough fight here. So what does black have? If queen e8, threatening queen e1 check, can white could maybe play queen f4. Then if queen e1, rook d1. But the problem is that on queen e8, queen f4, black might just have bishop e5, and that threatens to forks the queen and the rook. There's so much going on here. There's so much going on. Then queen h6. And if bishop takes d6, queen g7, mate. So there's just so much going on here. It's really a very dramatic situation. Difficult. lots of tactics. Board 4, Christian Clemens, knight d3. Okay, so that's an interesting choice to take on c4. I'm not sure if it was the right choice. Rook c2, and then it looks to me as though the c4 pawn is going to fall after rook c2. What happens after knight c4, knight c1, knight a5 is knight e2 check, take, boom, bishop c5. Okay, so this is pretty much the same thing. I thought black might have had a tactic to win a pawn back, but no. And instead, rook d5. So I would have thought maybe a simple move like b3 here for white, and then bringing the knight back to c4. Rook d5 is an interesting move. Attacks the bishop. Bishop goes to b4. Now knight c4, rook e6, rook e5. White is close to winning this. Moving up the board. Black threatens bishop to b8, check. Black has weak pawns all over the place. This threatens rook d4 check. Oh no. Blunder. Horrible blunder. Oh, why didn't black play rook? Rook takes c4 check. This is some really bad mistakes here on the part of both sides here. Black wins easily by playing rook c4 check here. Instead takes a pawn instead of the knight. Oh, this wins the rook. So this is even better. Oh, yeah, yeah. And now king f5. Tragedy absolute tragedy for Christian here. We're going to go back to here. King e4 is a mistake. King e4 is a mistake. After king e6, white could play rook b5 or rook h5 or any other move. Very interesting. What happens here is white actually sets himself up with king to e4 to lose a piece. I think, maybe not, rook d1, now rook e5 check, and if king f6, you can play rook f5 check or play rook d5. So this is the blunder right here after king e6, king e4, rook d1. It's this move, b3, which falls straight into the discovered check and just loses the game. What a tragedy. Rook d4 check, and black got greedy and is just winning everything here. There's no way that white can recover from this. A tragic game for Christian, who was winning this easily, or was on his way to a win. Instead, tactical oversight has led to a loss. We have Ethan Bolte. This game I thought was heading to a draw. Okay, for some reason, black doesn't trade on d7, but plays rook b4 instead and just agrees to have his pawns fractured. No reason at all to do that. Giving white a chance to play for something. And that's exactly what's happening, is white, well, rook h3, it's hard to believe that that's going to be effective. Yeah, funny move. Okay, so in this position, rook h3 paralyzes the rook and the two pawns almost. King c6, and white's sort of like, oh, what's my move now? I can only move my king and the b pawn. Well, white has some possibilities, liquidating the queen side, coming back over and winning with the h pawn. Amazing. Clarence, how'd you do?
I won.
You won. Another crazy game.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It looks like you had him totally busted out of the opening. Clarence Lehman from board 7, and you won. Let's see. You were better here when we were looking at it. Let's go to or we can see how the game wound up. You were better. The race is on. What an exciting game. H4, knight d4. Black is better centralized. So this was a waste of time. I'm gonna be critical of your game. I'm gonna be critical of your game. He just hung his rook.
Well, he thought he could. He didn't see the knight getting back.
Very nice. Very nice. You're making sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still putting in here.
Okay. So let's
It
go.
was interesting before.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Here you go.
before. All right.
Clarence
Oh, got the
and
mics.
Kaylin.
All right, we're all
All
mic'd up.
right. So Clarence, this game was a game of many vicissitudes. Let's go. Let's go to the beginning.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
Okay. Alban counter gambit. I know nothing about this. I like f6 just because it's got a certain joie de vivre about it. You know?
I think f6 is the true gambit.
It's the true gambit.
But a3 is usually g3 here. a3 has got a lot of sting to it, and I think it would have probably been better for white if he'd have played it more accurately. Normally, I've played a lot of these in blitz games and done well, but I think the dark squared bishop gets to go to b2, and it kind of neutralizes stuff.
All right.
This thing here is.
Yeah, bishop g5 is pretty annoying because the queen has to go to g6 and kind of.
Well,
It's hard to say where black's going to set up.
The pawn's
spaces.
held here, so you have to play correctly for white, and then black gets nothing. But that's, yeah, that move. In past, I've not played it, but that move is actually g4 is pretty decent.
All right, so here, I'm starting to sort of lose. I'm not really sure what's going on here, actually. I must admit.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what exactly.
I like White's idea of playing b5 and knight e5, and but on the other hand, the bishop at g5 will be hanging.
Yep.
So, is there a way for Black to find another move here? I'm not sure that there is. Could you have
can't
prevented
castle.
when White played a3? Right. Surely a5 must be a move. It's a possibility. It looks slow.
you could
So the main line here is like knight gd7 or bishop g4
or queen e7
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah. So this is a play.
Yeah.
Okay,
to
so
play a5 here just kind
f6.
of gives me the no queen side castling idea.
Okay, all right. Bishop g5, queen g6, b4, bishop g4, knight d2. Is this called the Lehman variation?
I guess so,
This
because
is
the
like-
knight has to go to
I want
d3,
everything out of the opening, and then I want to be able to castle eventually. But but
right.
I allowed you to get d3 in, so that was good.
Yeah,
so I just
D3
want to trade off the
D3
bishop.
was really strong.
So, is it possible for White to
Not
maybe
do that?
play h4 here? Maybe
Yeah,
not.
I don't.
You can maybe play h3, but no, you lose material. So
I don't even think my white's position is bad after h4. I just think this is even better because
Yeah.
I can play h3 and I can even play g4. Like it looks stupid, but if you retreat
Now,
the
it
bishop,
looked to
it's
me like Black was getting a little outplayed here, but then suddenly it just turned horrible for White.
yeah. So d3 was the shot that I saw, but I didn't see quite.
I thought this was
all the sting.
not quite.
Yeah, I'm
correct
not
if
sure
he's leading.
b5. You sort of need to be thinking of
D3.
developing
Yeah,
here.
well,
So-
black's completely developed.
So I'm talking.
Oh, yeah, I know.
So maybe queen d3 and g3, right?
Yeah, queen d3 is an interesting.
Maybe
move.
queen d3 and trade off. Yeah, that's probably good. You still a pawn up. Yep.
Well,
Although-
yeah, queen d3. B5, I mean, I'm not sure that's a move you would want to play anyway because it puts another pawn on the color of your bishop, and sort of like, I mean, of course the black knight is out of play, but is it out of play? This just backfired badly.
Yeah, that knight turns out good on the rim.
Let's see. And now, what about knight maybe to e5, but then queen e6. I'm trying to go knight to e3. You know, you're not developing your pieces, Kalen.
Yeah, but
shame on
maybe
you.
rook d1.
Rook d1 is probably fine, or
It
even
doesn't look happy, but it looks
even
like it
g4 here
necessary.
is probably great.
But
actually.
what's your queen doing on a4? Was that
It's
worth
kind
it?
of just
was it-
restricting the knight and weakening the light squares for the black king.
But there are priorities here, and I think the biggest priority is getting your pieces out of the box, getting your pieces developed. G3, D3, that looks incredibly powerful move. You know.
So my idea was to take it and then give back a pawn.
But it didn't quite work.
Didn't quite work out.
So white's on full,
Now this
full
forced.
tilt retreat.
Yeah, no, I'm
Okay, so here knight takes c4, but what about in
this
this?
is better than knight c4.
What about knight takes c4 right now?
It still isn't the best move.
Well,
I had
okay.
originally planned
All
on,
right, all right.
So
I still plan a knight b3 here is what I originally planned on.
Well then,
But then I only win the exchange back in effect and the pawn for the pawn.
knight b3, rook b1.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what about knight takes c4?
Well, I looked at it.
So
but,
what if I
but
just
about
take
rook
it?
c1?
Okay, then he plays rook takes d2.
No, he doesn't take it. He plays rook c1. Yeah, if you take it, he plays rook take t2 and then rook c1.
Okay, so knight takes d5, rook c1.
I looked at this. Line.
Yeah, I guess white
that's
actually
another idea.
stays a pawn ahead.
And I
And-
originally
I'm-
thought
I'm
about
2
knight
pawns up
b3,
right now.
and then when I got
all
here,
right,
I
so knight
realized
f5.
it was bad.
Now what about knight takes c4?
that's what I was expecting, and then I thought king f1, and I have a great position.
Yeah.
But no, he
Or,
takes
sorry,
on
no,
d2.
no. So rook c1 still. Same,
right,
same
You
deal.
can still play rook c1.
All right, knight c4, rook c1, but it's
Yep. And there isn't any powy. I didn't want him to castle, but I couldn't find.
queen g2, knight g2, king g2, and then black has, yeah, I can see what you're saying. It's not that clear.
And there's some ideas
Bishop
here that
g4
if
is
he
coming
castles- If he castles here, next would I make some move?
Yeah.
If he castles, I'm looking at on rook c1. You have queen takes with the fork on.
But I still thought you'd do knight d4 here.
I was afraid of rook c1 in some lines,
Yeah.
so it's probably okay here. But I thought the rook first. You're not going to go anywhere.
Okay. It'll probably transpose anyway.
Yeah.
So knight d4 castles, I
You
guess.
could play knight d4 rook c1 still. So now it castles, and then he has
And now I think I'm kind of out of the woods again.
It looked to me like that.
And I'm not sure that I ever really was in the woods
It's
because
possible
whenever
you
you
weren't.
take a pawn, I can give a pawn back and still have a great position.
Right, yeah.
Well, what I was looking at is these queenside pawns for white are really strung out. I thought that there was a better way to play instead of.
Yeah. So maybe rook e1 was maybe a little optimistic because you had a nice move here. You played knight d4, and then I had originally planned bishop f1, but of course that's a lemon because of queen d2, and I lose the house. I was even
Right.
looking at queen d2, rook e8, queen
Wait a minute,
h.
wait. Bishop
five.
f1. What?
Queen takes d2.
And does what?
Well, you have a knight fork
Oh,
on
that fork.
f3,
Yeah,
and
that's true,
so
that's
you win a
true.
piece.
That's true. That fork is there.
I mean, it's
That's
easy
right.
to see now, but it's hard to see 3 moves ago.
I
did see this then. What I didn't see was another one of those little it's an easy mistake to try to play queen takes c1. You're thinking you have the fork, but the rook is on it, so it doesn't work. Yeah, there's still some problems here. So this is.
Yeah, but rook
necessary.
c1 was just bad. But do I have something better other than
I
rook
thought
c1?
that was all you had actually.
Really? Wait, let's go
might
back
be
for a
something.
second. I gotta have something better than rook c1. Like,
Yeah, like.
Well, black has a big grip on the position despite being maybe bishop h5.
Despite being 2 pawns down, yeah.
yeah, bishop h5, g6. But I thought bishop g4 was interesting, sort of inviting you to take back the pawn because I'm going to trade off some pieces.
Right, but then if you lose one pawn, you're
Am I going to lose them all?
Yeah.
Are they the domino effect?
I I think seriously, you have some structural problems here that go back to playing b5. b5 really doesn't. I want you to look back at this position one day and just say, b5. I'm not this b5 and queen a4. I'm not sure about that idea. I want just one day.
Okay, I've seen it in some of these lines, but maybe not
some
in
of the
that
lines
one.
are right.
Because all these positions where you're 2 pawns up, but you sort of get, you know. All right, so let's see. This was very interesting. What happened here? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, now I'm just trying to salvage the game because I'm going to end up in a worse ending.
Right, and that was sort of the problem all along, in a way. So.
Hey guys, Abel was holding that FIDE rulebook. Do you guys know where it is?
No.
So I took it.
No, I doubt somebody took it. So.
Now here, I actually thought he wouldn't, instead of playing down to d7, I thought he'd play rook d3 or something.
Or a4.
Or a4. And then on a4, I can't play knight b2 because rook e4, and the pawn's held, and the knight's kind of corralled. So.
All right. So let's just see what happens. I mean, this is a tough situation. This is, I think, tough for white, and one of the reasons it is because these pawns are targets over on this side. If the pawns were in a2 and b3, I agree. You know.
I didn't think a4 was going to help me much.
I think you're probably right. This is kamikaze chess. All right. So black is better here, obviously, and maybe even winning.
But I have some practical chances.
And maybe even winning because the white rook is actually in a bad spot in that it's blocking the advance of his own pawns. Black's rook is in a perfect spot where it's defending and attacking.
What I liked that was I got 2 spaces with that move, but he gets, if he could get in G to G7, he has rook H.
So I think this may be a winning position for black or close to it.
I think it's probably winning, yeah.
But this is a waste. This turned out to be a waste of time, and who knows what could have happened if maybe white had played a little. Like, what about King G2?
Yeah, I didn't care. The whole point of going down here before I figured my pawn race was going to win, and
what about? Okay, so I'm giving you. Let's try another move. C5 with the idea of playing knight D4.
Oh yes,
and
that's
blocking
exactly right.
And blocking out the rook.
And that's what happened. But
it happened 2 moves late.
Yeah, I was kind of afraid of that.
But it happened with the rook over on this side of the board. Now it didn't help his pawns.
Right.
Yeah. So he wound up being in front of my pawns instead of.
Well, I think it would have been better because you wasted 2 moves here. Rook E1, Rook A4, C5. I mean, I'm not saying that the rook is better here than here. Right. The white rook should be someplace where it's trying to do both.
I had a plan.
Kind of restricted
I had a
pawns.
plan. The plan was to go to rook to G8 and then to play G5. And if he trades off, I have passed pawns and those don't get there quick enough.
But also the rook keeps the rook off the A file on your end, right? Because if you get your rook on the A file, then it might be losing.
I mean, earlier I thought about not letting you come down there and just playing rook to E7. But the problem is then I have a hard time getting the pawns roll because you get to play A4.
Yeah, white's rook is in a bad spot. I mean, look at the respective pieces. Kings are even, but the black rook is in a nice spot. The black knight is in a nice spot. It's just. It sort of adds up to a situation that I think is very difficult for white. I mean, maybe the white rook is better where it's, I don't know, this is tough.
So if b5, I have rook takes
black's
d4 is kind of interesting, but I don't know if it wins. It might still lose.
What's that?
If b5 instead of rook e5. So if knight d5, and then go a couple more moves. So one more move, and then here, if black plays b5,
the check
then I have rook takes d4.
Then you win, 'cause I don't think I can stop the pawns.
No, but you have an intermediate check. So you have rook e1 check. That's the problem
but I don't
with
think
that
it
line.
Maybe it does.
Maybe, I don't know. It was complicated.
I think you just play knight c7 check, and then I have to play that check first and get out of the way. It still didn't. No, you still.
But okay, now my knight's getting better. So
if I play there, you still have the knight check.
I didn't like it in rook e5. I thought that maybe gave me some chances.
Your play with the rooks on the e file have been there's something that's not right about that.
His knight can't go do what he wanted to do because
that's
he can't
true.
get away. So And this puts pressure on the pawns too, and
Okay.
so I thought it was better centralized. But
Arguably,
You
I
might
kind of
be
want to put
right.
my
I
knight on
mean-
f6 too.
oh,
This wasn't so bad.
I didn't feel like I was for sure winning. I felt
Yeah,
like I
I'm
had a
not
better
sure what's
position,
going on
but
here.
It was a horse race, is what I saw.
Yeah.
But now White definitely
Now
blundered.
White's got some-
And
he gave up
thinking that the pawn was going to reach the end of the
he
board,
didn't
but
see the knight maneuver.
but there's the knight maneuver. So is there another?
He could play rook takes knight.
Okay, rook takes d4 and then h7
Yeah, I could do that.
and then h6.
The
Okay.
knight
that-
keeps me out of places, so
right,
rook
so-
takes knight.
all right. So let's. What happens? Rook takes knight. Pawn takes rook. h6.
Yep.
Then what, Clarence?
Then I probably have to play rook e7 or something to stop it. So when it gets there, I can take it. So as soon as he takes, he's got one bang, knight takes, and then he's got 4 moves. Meanwhile,
Wait, one bang? Is that a move?
Yeah, one bang.
bang.
One bang.
You heard it here, folks. One
You heard it here
bang.
first, one bang. So
Okay, let's take it from the top. Rook d4, c4, h6. Okay, so if White plays d3, h7, d2, h8 queen, d1 queen, that
yeah, I queen
Black-
faster because they're going to d-file, right? Bing, bing.
Black is queening with check,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
after king h2, Black doesn't have a check. And then what's going on?
Okay.
That's not so
Yeah, it's
clear.
not so clear.
No, that's
Pawn
not so
push,
clear.
Pawn push, pawn push, pawn push, queen. Queen's with check.
But then king h2.
And then king h2. And then...
And then phew, I'm not willing to say what's going to
Then I don't know
happen
what's
then.
happening.
Yeah. I mean,
then Black's king's kind of exposed, the queen back
White's
around.
gotten back
Back
at
in the
least
game.
some, you know,
Yeah.
serious
chances.
cheapo possibilities.
So rook takes,
right?
pawn takes, pawn push. Maybe you don't do that yet. Maybe you check with the king, with a rook first.
h6.
Does that help you?
Daniel, I don't know how your dad's doing. I know he's in there playing chess.
Maybe not.
We can send somebody in there to
Yeah.
look at him.
But maybe rook takes d4,
Pawn
c
takes
takes
d4,
d4.
h6.
Actually, rook e7, I think might be.
That's what I
That might be
thought.
the ticket.
That's the line that got to the d1 check.
No,
line.
but then h6.
I'll then take it before it gets down.
Then h7. Oh,
But you're going to take with the rook.
the knight takes.
You still can't
And then you
catch
run the pawn. and
No,
then we were
well, the
looking-
d
that
pawn
was-
can be caught, but maybe the a pawn can't be.
Rook takes
But then
Yeah.
White's queening too, so I mean,
Yeah, I guess that's the same type of line.
maybe, yeah. Let's see.
Rook takes, pawn push, rook to d2, pawn push again, rook takes, knight takes, and then that puts a pawn on d2.
Okay,
You
so
can't- I don't think you catch
how
it.
about this? Rook takes d4, c takes d4,
Yeah.
h6, rook e7, h7, rook takes h7, knight takes h7, a4, g5, a3, g6, a2, g7, a1 queen check.
Oh, and you haven't quit.
King, you win the knight, but you can't stop White from queening.
And then there still could be
And then it still could
So
be
much
some-
cheapo potential.
Yeah.
All thanks to the knight on f6.
The knight on f6 really works.
But to be honest, if you don't play rook e5, I think I don't really have a chance because that extra tempo means everything.
So rook d4. Rook d4 is a saving move possibly by White here. Instead, folks back home, h6 was played and
Too fancy.
too fancy. The pawn can be stopped. Knight check.
in a fascinating way.
King
Maybe-
f1
maybe-
doesn't help.
No, because rook e1 check, king there,
Nor
knight
does
check,
king
and you're
h1.
still,
Yeah. The
Yeah,
pawn is caught and through a nice little geometry, and then this is just completely hopeless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a fun game.
Fun game. Yeah. Congratulations, Clarence.
Thank you.
Yeah. That was
We evened up
yeah.
our score, right? At least even
my
the last
favorite
time.
move. My favorite move of yours was way back here, f6.
Oh, no.
That's my favorite move of yours because it showed showed us fighting spirit.
Uh-huh.
God, if you'd played rook d4 at the end there, that would have really been something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw it too.
It was too low on time to probably deal
The
with it,
stupid
man.
thing is, I saw knight f3 check. I just didn't follow it long enough.
Right.
And I had,
It's a common kind of trick. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
and I had 9 minutes, so really, like, I could
You have no
could go a
excuse.
little bit
Yeah.
more. Like, I can go 2-ply, 3-ply.
Right,
Like, you
right,
shouldn't just
right.
be
Yeah, yeah.
calculating one move.
Chess has got these sort of like common little sequences
that's
and
one of them.
tricks, and that's
Yeah.
one of them. And the more
Yeah.
you know, the better you are, the
Yeah.
better off you
Yeah.
are, right? You
That's
know,
one of them.
and just being willing to put in the time
Yeah.
to take it a little further, right?
And
You
even
know?
just retreating the rook rather than playing rook takes knight, I have more practical chances than the game.
That's true,
because I
because that
still
one
have
just
the
lost
same.
by
Yeah.
force.
just
Yeah.
threw it away.
Yeah.
Right. Losing by force is not good.
It's always inferior.
Let's try to let it out. Right.
All right.
And it's always the forcing sequences that we should be looking at first, right? Yeah. So
Checks, captures.
checks, captures, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, good lesson. I'll have to look at this with the computer and see too if there was some kind of tactical way to navigate through the opening.
Yeah. You should have had the
bet there's
better
something.
opening, right? Because f6 it's unconventional. It's the layman variation. But maybe that's not bad. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad.
This is like an whoever came with an old Alvin County Gambit book years and years ago.
Right.
It was, F6 is the real gambit.
Is the real
Yeah,
gambit.
because the first one is the idea is to play it carefully and 97 into G6 and win the pawn back.
Right,
But
right.
I think Frank Marshall had said that anybody, and he even played it before, anybody that played the Alvin Counter Gambit expecting to get a whole point
Uh-huh.
or trying to get a whole point was not completely sane or something to that effect. So, but
Unless
it
your
does have
name's
some surprise
Morzeyevich.
value. Huh?
Unless your name's
All right.
Morzeyevich.
Yeah, right.
Thanks, guys, and we'll see you next week. All right, cool.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And I haven't said that to everybody, I don't think, out there in the, hey, can somebody go and see how Daniel Perlova's dad is doing and come back and give me and tell us? Alexander Perlov. He's in the open section. He's an older man, but we're concerned about him. All right. Okay, so we're going to go up to, let's go to Elliot Winslow's game, and we have this interesting position here, where Elliot. Okay, so Elliot gives the pawn at d5 back. Very interesting to take the pawn on f7, but Black. Excuse me. Black counterattacks the pawn on g3.
It's not looking good for Perlov. He's down
Okay.
a piece.
Daniel, your father's down a piece.
He's got some practical chances.
Is there anything we need to do for him? Okay, that's the update, Daniel. Well, thanks, Kaylin.
Maybe some hope, just the glimmer. But
Yeah.
not much.
All right, we're having fun here at the chess club. Finding out, okay, knight f5 is a counterattack on the g3 pawn. White takes on c7, black takes there, king g2. So, coming back here, black could have played knight g3 check, I think. Why? This is a completely, I do not understand it. King g2, c4. Maybe the players will come in and enlighten me. Tough little game, tough little position here. Difficult to dislodge the knight. c3 is another fighting move to get up the passed pawn on the a file. If b takes c4, knight c4 check, and knight takes a3. A real dogfight of a game here. Both players are playing to win, it seems. All right, let's go up to board one. We liked black's game here when we left off. White goes into retreat there. That does not win the exchange because of the check. Give him a chair. Bishop f3. Oh my gosh, white wasn't able to prevent this. Looks, black was threatening mate. Very, very tough situation here for white, or it looks like it could be. Black is going for the pawn storm, and this is looking rough here. Rook f4, nice move. If it were, yeah, bishop f4 obviously cannot be played because of queen f4 check, king, I think, queen f4 check, king g1, yeah, queen g4 check, followed by queen g4 check, king h2, queen h4 check, and if queen h3, queen f2 check, and if king g1, queen h1 mate. So the rook cannot be taken on f4, which means that, what does it mean? If black plays g takes h4, then white could think about maybe being able to take on f4. Queen f4 check, oh no, then rook, yeah, so gh4 is a huge threat here. It looks to me like Stephen Gaffigan is winning this game now. The attack is too powerful on the hg5. Okay, king g7, so a slow move. Why not h4? Am I missing something? Why doesn't black play h4? Bishop f4, queen f4. Oh, I see, the g file's closed. So black opens the g file. I'm not sure if this is exactly the sequence of events. After queen f4 resigns, I'm not sure. This might be something wrong with the DGT board. I'd like to know the exact end of this game. After king g1, black must have played queen h1 mate and not queen to f4. So king h2, queen h4, king g1, queen h1 is mate. Yeah, okay. Game is over. Black won with queen h1 mate. Queen g5, we left off this exciting game here. Black plays queen f8 to defend the f-pawn and to attack the rook on d6. White doubles the rooks in this manner, threatening rook d8, or with the idea of playing rook d8, I think. Black plays queen f5, and that clearly forces a trade of queens because of queen c2 mate. Let's see, was there the possibility of white playing rook d8 check? Wouldn't have made any difference, I don't think. No. Now the white is trying, it looks to me like white is close to winning this. Lots of pawns. Could white have played c7 here? Did white have to give up? Is white, oh, I think, yeah, b5 is, white is close to winning this position here. Very close to winning this. Wow, rook takes c7. That is a very bold move. And probably good. Yeah, I think so. I think white is winning here. And I have some visitors. Stephen, you won, I assume.
Yes,
I played a nice game. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're having a great tournament. And you just beat the tournament leader.
Yes.
Which means that you're now the tournament leader.
Yes.
Yes.
It's true.
So Walter is lost here. I'm watching the last.
Walter is lost with the black pieces.
I think so. Yeah. I think this is pretty straightforward. Let's go to your game.
Oh, right.
Because that is.
Can they hear me?
You are this. No, they'll hear you now.
Oh, okay.
Boom.
Okay. Hello.
Congratulations, Stephen.
Thank you, Paul. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. So you got a good opening here. The White, White played this odd little setup. Maybe it's not bad, but maybe it's you played sensibly, and White moved the bishop twice, which already says to me that he's achieved very little. And you just play very simple, good moves, gaining the two bishops, and
yeah, I had to calculate before playing a6. I thought he would play bishop c6, bc6, e5, de5, knight e5. But then I think I can play bishop b7, and I didn't see how he would create an initiative. I thought he would play maybe d3 instead of d4.
Right, and then play for e5. But I mean, this bishop d3 and then b5 and takes on c6 is not inspiring.
Yeah, I thought he could have played a bishop f1 and maybe play for d4 or d3 and g3. Yeah, much more slowly. I really didn't necessarily want to play e5. I could have maybe castled, but yeah. Anyways,
it's true that maybe e5 is not necessary yet. Okay, so. Let's come to another critical situation here.
Which is this one?
Yeah, bishop d5, ed, e4. What about that?
Queen e3, queen e2, ef3, queen e7. I think is better for White, and otherwise he brings the knight to d4 and c6.
Okay, that's kind of what we were looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So always when I
hey, congratulations, your dad won, Daniel.
Always when I was thinking whether to play e5 or not, ideally I want to capture on d5 with the knight and play maybe bishop d7 and f5 and bishop f6.
Right.
Was what I was thinking, but
White had some tactics.
Yeah, I saw one tactic, but I missed the other one. Yeah, so here bishop d7 is met by
knight e5.
Is met by
knight takes e5.
No, bishop d7, knight e5, de5, d6 is met by queen c6.
So with the bishop on b7, right? But not with the bishop on d7.
Oh, right. Absolutely. But so even with the bishop on b7, he still can try here.
You could try bishop e5.
Bishop e5 and d6.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's something to look at home. I'm not sure that it would lead to. I think
he rejected it. He played c4.
I think actually it might win a pawn even for White, wouldn't it? Bishop e5 takes in g6.
Well, c2 is hanging there.
Yeah.
But one worry also for White is that he'll play like. Is that? I don't know.
So this was aimed against that. I think that was a good move.
Yeah.
And now White, I think, chose the wrong plan. I mean, I definitely think White chose the wrong plan. I'm not sure what he should do.
Well, typically they play for, he has a queenside pawn majority.
Right.
And my bishop is at b7. It's not ideal, so it's going to take some time.
I don't think White has a great game here, particularly. But maybe White should try to play for f4 or something. I'm not sure, but White didn't solve the problems here.
Yeah, like maybe knight d2, f5, f4, e4.
And now you could have on bishop c1, you could have played f5, right? Then knight g5, I guess.
Yeah, I probably should have because whatever I played was h6, queen f5.
Well, you played this well. I didn't see how we got anything out of this.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I could have played g6, queen h3, h5 here, but.
That's a little loose.
Actually, I thought bishop c8. I kind of overlooked queen h5.
Well, you could play queen d7 and queen f5 maybe.
Queen d7 I didn't see.
But then he's got bishop e3 and maybe targeting b6. So
I have no knight at d7.
But I thought this was a little risky for you, but I never found a way for him to do anything.
Yeah, he had two. He had an option instead of when he played knight g5 check. I had seen g4 coming. I had seen that move, and I just presumed I would play f5, g5, f4.
Right.
But if I'm on f5, so he played knight g5 check. Actually, I thought that was interesting for him to play bishop takes h6 here. Bishop h6, and now I have two options. I can play g6, which is tricky and unclear, at least to my eyes, but it might be better for white. So the idea is bishop h6, g6.
Queen h3 loses
No, queen
to
h3 is
f2, g4.
fg4, yeah. But he plays knight g5 check.
Bishop g5.
Bishop g5.
Queen g5.
Queen h4.
No, wait a minute. Bishop h6.
Bishop h6.
Right.
Now I can...
g6, knight g5, check. Bishop g5, queen g5 is forced.
Then I would...
and then I'm not sure you have anything.
G5 is forced?
Right, because this queen is attacked.
No, I take hg5.
Okay, let's look at this again. What's your first move? Bishop takes h6?
Bishop h6. Gh6.
Right.
Oh, I see. Bishop h6, g6.
Oh, bishop g6, g6, right.
G6.
Right.
Knight g5 check.
Bishop takes g5.
Oh, you want to play queen g5?
Has to. If you can't play queen h4 because I play bishop take your queen. I've just taken your.
Yes.
Yeah. So queen g5, but that's not clear.
Right.
I guess yeah, because white can back up with queen h4 afterwards if the rook moves. Maybe queen h4. Yeah.
I couldn't figure that out. Maybe I missed something. So, and the other way is bishop h6.
G takes h6.
Gh6, knight g5 check.
Is that really gonna work?
Well, what do I play?
King g7. I see if he take.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Bishop h6.
Right.
G takes h6.
Right.
g5.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually a little scary. But g6 might. Yeah, you'll have to look at that. You'll have to look at that at home.
Yeah, I was, and then he played bishop. He played knight g5 check.
Yeah, that did not work out at all.
And I thought maybe his idea was to play f4 here, but I can play king g8 on f4, for example. f4 and I can't take because
right.
of
I
e8,
see king g8 though.
But I go king g8 and then his bishop
yeah.
presumably plays to h4 and.
Or you could maybe if he plays f4, you could play f takes g4 too.
Possibly, so, yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. It's a strange situation. Again, you might have to analyze that at home.
Yeah.
No, Kaylin didn't know who your dad was, so that's funny. But this is just better for you. And I think probably white played inaccurately here, but he's in trouble. There's no doubt that white is in trouble in this. And he might have made it easy somewhere down the line here. But you found the right...
Oh, so...
yeah, go ahead. It looks to me like you found the right way to...
Go back a few moves?
Yeah.
Go back... Oh, so there's a rook h5 was tempting here. Rook h5, and then of course he can't take my queen because there's a mate at h1.
Right.
But and I'm threatening h3.
Right.
However, he can play on rook
h2.
h5. He can play queen g2.
What a great move.
Yeah, rook h5, queen g2. So that's a
a
trap I could have easily fallen into.
Yeah.
So that's why I had to back up with a queen.
Huh. Although, yeah, and that actually works. What a great trap that is. A fantastic trap.
Yeah.
Wow. I've never even seen that trap before, I don't think.
Yeah,
Very
so I have to back up. I mean, ideally, I'd like the rooks on f5 and h5, and then rook h3 is probably what I would
But white
play.
is tied up here and probably should sacrifice the exchange.
Yeah, I thought he would, yeah.
But this is thematic. And white is definitely too slow here. Although, Yeah, because you're threatening h4. Maybe it was time to play c5 anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there are some tactics here that have to be worked out, but in general, I'm happy that he's pushing pawns in front of his king.
This was a nice move.
Yeah.
This seals it, I think.
But there's still a problem because my king is on the h file, so I wanted to play h4 here, but then I think he plays queen h3. And then maybe can I still play king g7 there? Yeah, so what did I play? At first I thought I would play h4, but
right.
First king g7, yeah. And he had about he had over 8 minutes left, but he looked at the clock and he seemed like he wasn't sure what to play here, and he just took a chance on bishop f4. But
and he gets mated by force.
By force, yeah.
So he has to allow h4, and I don't think he's going to be able to generate enough.
Yeah, I mean the bishop
counter play before you come crashing in, unless he can sacrifice. Wait a minute. Can he play rook f3 here?
Yeah, rook f3, rook f3,
yeah,
queen f3.
He's still coming under a horrible attack.
Queen f3.
Yeah. And then c5.
But it's a little bit tricky for me because his...
c5 then?
Oh, I see. Rook f3, rook f3, rook f3, queen f3, c5. Maybe do I have queen d5?
Yeah, or take first and then take
bc5,
on
bc5, queen d5.
Somehow I think black should win that.
Yeah, but he could have caused me some practical problems. My king is kind of open on the 7th rank. And
the finish of the game, folks, back home was bishop f4, queen f4, king g1, and mate by force. You didn't play queen f4, obviously. You played queen h1 mate.
No, it didn't go that way.
No.
It went...
what happened?
Go back to move 41.
Okay. Bishop f4.
Queen f4 check.
Right. King g1.
King g1. Queen g4 check.
Right.
King h2.
Right.
Queen h4 check.
Right.
Queen h3.
Oh, he played queen h3.
Yeah, he played queen h3
okay,
and then...
Okay, so what happened? Queen h3.
Queen h3 and then... oh, no, he resigned on queen h4 check. Because of queen h3, queen f2.
Queen f2 check.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So he resigned here.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was some issue with the DGT board. Okay. All right, folks. Thank you, Stephen.
Oh, thank you, Paul. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up here.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I'll see you next Tuesday.
All right, sir.
All right. You'll be on board 1 in the Tuesday night marathon. This is the last 9 rounders, so if you win this, it'll be something else. Well, really.
We need more 9 rounders.
Yeah. I'm gonna go quickly through the last of the games here. Sodakova, as we predicted, beat Michael Walter in this endgame. This is a matter of technique here. White is going to play b7 check, win, and then win in any number of ways. Ethan Boldy versus Sosa Kobian was agreed to a draw. We'll just go to the final position. Well, okay, rook versus rook. This was actually played out for quite a while here. I'm going back. This is hilarious. Both players are playing out rook versus king. All right, they both should be. Winslow beat Stephen Thiem from this position. Let's see what happened. Black pitched the pawn and then went after the pawn with his king this way. His own king got confined, and Elliott won 2 pawns, and the knight couldn't deal with both of the pawns. Obviously, in this situation, one of them probably queened, or else black flagged here. Black flagged. That was a rock band. Okay. Folks, from everyone at the Tuesday night marathon, Paul Whitehead, FIDE Master Paul Whitehead. I hope you had as much fun as I did. It was quite an evening of chess. Study your Fischer Spassky, study your Mikhail Tal, and come to the Mechanics Institute Chess Club, play some chess, visit us. We'll be back next week at 7 p.m. We are starting a half an hour earlier. We're going to get more chess in, more fun stuff, and so we're starting at 7 p.m. next week. See you next week. Thanks, everybody. Good night from all of us. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Daniel Perlov and Ako. Tuesday night marathon chess players all. I'm doffing my hat to everybody. Good night.